Welcome into the show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in today. Mike Elam, I believe, is in tomorrow. And wow, another great show. I mean, we had a great show yesterday. We have a great show again today. I see this news here, and I seen some other agencies reporting it yesterday, but mostly the pickup today, that Donald Trump won't assign a special prosecutor to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He doesn't want to. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if that's going to be something that perhaps could come up in the future, but this is such a, to me, big deal that they're not going to release and disclose this information. The transparency of trying to keep under wraps the information of a prolific child sex trafficker of Jeffrey Epstein, to think that for some reason we have to hold back on this information, it almost guarantees there's something else nefarious going on there when you start to hide these sort of things. And there's so many different high profile people that look at this and say, if they say they don't have it, they don't have it. You have to move on. You can't dwell on this long term, because you're going to stir up even more conspiracy theories that way, and it's going to hurt the party. And what's that going to look like? So if they say it's not there, it's not there. You have to take them for their word. But I'm thinking to myself, no, you don't have to take the government for their word, even when it's the person that you believe in, even as when the person you agree with or voted for. You don't have to take them for their word just because they say it's not there. If you have someone as prolific as a Jeffrey Epstein, who we know was engaging in this activity, and we have other witnesses and victims that have come forward and named people already, and we know that this information was gathered by high-ranking officials, and for the government to say there's no list is ludicrous. It's goes against every bit of information we know, because these agencies collect information. It's their job. It's what they do. So to go out and say, no, don't look at the man behind the curtain, doesn't that just make you as a skeptic want to look at what's all behind the curtain? And then when they say, no, you can't do it, you're going to look even harder. And I know there's a lot of other things going on in this country that are very important to reach, but this is an easy thing to do. You can easily say, we're still working on it. We're going to release it. We know that we haven't met the deadline that we said we put it out, but we're going to. It's not what they're saying. What they're saying is there is nothing to release. And that is just beyond my understanding here of how they can get away with saying something like that. So part of the story, it says the Trump administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case has led to calls for some of his supporters to appoint a special prosecutor, but the president isn't in favor of the idea, the White House official said. And I think we also saw some other people asking about this during the press briefing today. Caroline Levitt was asked, this is clip number 15. Can we play that? I think it's 15.
Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, if you think about their level of interest in this has always been kind of muted, quiet, and there's probably a reason for that. I mean, thinking about maybe their biggest surrogate and their biggest, I guess, well, outside of Barack Obama, you also have Bill Clinton and the implications of him and what does that look like. But it's guaranteed he's there. I mean, there's photo evidence and other witnesses that came forward that's saying that he was there. But other parts of this is okay. They always try to rope in Donald Trump into this. He says he doesn't have a connection to it. The part that we do know that has been confirmed is that at one point they knew each other, and then Donald Trump cut him off from Mar-a-Lago. And in fact, he actually went after them because I think Jeffrey Epstein was trying to entangle himself with one of the employees there. So Donald Trump stepped in, and that's when he cut him off. And I think he helped the family after that. So it was actually a good thing that a story that came out with Donald Trump. The thing that I think Democrats pull out at Donald Trump with the Epstein stuff is that witnesses will bring his name up in testimony. So they'll say he is part of the files. But when you go back and you read where he is in the files, I'll give you a couple of examples. They have witnesses that are there for depositions. and the witnesses will say, these are the people we saw, and they start naming, the Al Gores, and I forgot some of the other people. There's some high profile people you would recognize. And then the person that was leading the deposition, at least the questioning, would say, "What about Donald Trump?" The person said, "No." "Are you sure there wasn't Donald Trump?" "No, there wasn't Donald Trump." "You ever heard of rumors of Donald Trump?" "No, I never heard of rumors of Donald Trump." And they would go and they were trying to bait them. They weren't asking questions about any other person besides him. They were purposely trying to set him up for this, and it seemed like every time there was a witness that came forward, they all said, "No, he wasn't there." Another part of this is other testimonies that came back in part of court hearings. You find that Trump's name comes up because Jeffrey Epstein stayed at a Trump hotel, not that because he met with him or did anything else other than he, like, requested a hotel room or something like that. These are the type of, like, references that come up in these legal documents that implicate him. None. So I keep thinking to myself, everything that we've seen from this so far, it does not point to him. Why else would he be fearful of releasing this information? Does he think it's his duty as president to protect former presidents or other high profile people, knowing that it would be totally embarrassing and criminal if their name came up? It would ruin their lives. Is it the obligation to other people why this is coming up? And part of this too is Dan Bongino. And The Hill did an article on this and said Bongino has been at the center of debate over the Epstein files after the Justice Department essentially closed the case in a joint memo with the FBI. The deputy FBI director has clashed with Attorney General Pam Bondi over the issue and reportedly weighed resigning. And part of this, too, when you read the way that this person wrote the article, his name is Brett Samuels, and this one came out today. The outrage on the right over the prospect of Bongino exiting underscored both his importance to the base and how central he's been to, this is where they use the term, fueling the controversies. And when you hear this term and you find this in a lot of times these hit pieces that are written by pretty left leaning liberals to anyone that may be conservative or right leaning, you find that they start using the same phrasing and the same wording. So they say fueling the controversies, fueling the conspiracies, fueling the conspiracy theories. How many times have you seen or heard that in these type of left-leaning publications over the last couple of weeks? As in, they, as the writer, will believe what the government is telling them that these files don't exist, which is interesting because if you go back and if they are, in fact, left leaning, then they are going to default back into what the Biden administration left them with. So they're going to agree with them when it agrees with the Biden administration. They'll agree with Trump when it agrees with Biden. And that's the only instance where they'll say, don't worry, there's no man behind the curtain. I think this is very troubling in a lot of different ways. I don't think this is gonna go away. I think a lot of people are gonna be upset. I think a lot of people will continue to bring up the issues that are there, and rightfully so. I think it's worthy of, continuing to be part of a contention. We got a big show planned for today. We're going to actually talk to a senior director at the Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union on the rescissions and why is it needed? Have they gone far enough? Is this the end of it? Are we going to see more in the future? Because $9 billion doesn't satisfy anyone, honestly. And we're also going to talk to Brad Young, hairstyle Fisher and Young. He's a chief legal analyst here for the radio station, friend of mine, someone that I absolutely adore. When it comes to legal issues, he's so good at breaking it down in common language. So we're going to talk to him about the AutoPen hearing, and I also want to talk to him about the end of copyright because there's been a lot of, especially Josh Hawley testimony, where he's been questioning people about Meta's practices when it comes to artificial intelligence. And part of questioning how they use it is where they get their information from when they are training their models, and is that legal? Are they breaking copyright issues? And then I was watching some of these different videos. It's so fascinating how Josh Hawley breaks it down. Let's look at the internal messaging of what was going on at Meta. And as we go through this messaging, we realize very quickly that even they knew they were working in some really murky waters. So I'm looking forward to talking to Brad Young about that too. And I mean, that's just on top of the huge show that we have in so many different clips. And I think at the end of this hour, maybe, or the start of next hour, I want to look at some of Shane Gillis's SB monologue from last night. I don't know if you, I didn't even know, honestly, that the SBs were going on. It's so off my radar. I don't even care about ESPN. But all of a sudden, I see all the videos start circulating on YouTube this morning. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch that. He did not disappoint when it came to the controversy. So we're going to look at that too. I got so much to get to. If you want to find me online, Ryan Recker at Ryan Recker on Twitter, Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a couple of issues on the roads. Now, one of them is an accident southbound 170 at Forest Park Parkway. I just put this up on
Having some
X
troubles
at
getting Sue Thomas on
6768.
currently, so we're going to try to come back to traffic here in just a moment. You are listening to the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market? And how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Jason Aldean, Full Throttle Tour 2025, powered by Patriot Mobile. When the lights come on. This Saturday night, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. With Nate Smith. You set my world on fire. And Ray Lynn. Jason Aldean, on sale now at livenation.com. Jason Aldean Live.
Whiskey Myers and Tedeschi Trucks Band together. Live in 25. One incredible night of music. Whiskey Myers and Tedeschi Trucks Band. Live at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, August 24th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
As I was saying, there is an accident on southbound 170 at the Forest Park Parkway, and they've got the two left lanes blocked. Now, we've got a jam that goes back through Olive. In fact, it's a little north of Olive. I just put this up on X if you want to see what I'm talking about. Now, there's also an accident westbound 70 at Shreve. That one is blocking a traffic lane as well, and there's slow-moving traffic behind it. Now, on the Illinois side, there's so much volume. Now, this is eastbound 64, but anywhere from 255 to just past 159. And then we've got eastbound slowing at 159 because of road work. And then there's some volume on either side of Route 4. That's all due to road work. So some slow-moving traffic over there. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Riker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is the Senior Director of Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union, Thomas Aiello. Thank you for joining us in St. Louis. We appreciate it.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So we get $9 billion clawback in the first rescission. Okay, I guess that's something. So where do you think we stand? Do you think that's enough, or do you think we should be doing more when it comes to fiscal responsibility with taxpayer money?
Yeah, let's just set the groundwork. What the Senate did yesterday was actually historic. They haven't passed a rescissions bill in 50 years. We're awaiting floor action on the House, which I think is going to take place tomorrow. They're just working out some attendance issues. But, we're expecting it to pass on a party line basis. So hopefully it'll be at the president's desk tomorrow evening before the deadline, because they have until tomorrow to pass it and for the president to sign it. Otherwise, it just goes away. But yeah, like you said, $9 billion is a step in the right direction. It's not going to solve our budget crisis that we're dealing with. We're running $2 trillion deficits each year. It is a very, very small drop in the bucket, but you start addressing a problem by saying you have a problem. So hopefully this is the first of many steps to get to get this problem solved.
So what you're saying is we need congressional intervention where they are coaxed into a room. Basically, we're not going to tell them what they're there for, and then we surprise them with, we need to have a talk about your finances.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've added $381 billion to the national debt since the House passed this bill on June 12th. That's 40 days ago. I mean, we really have a real problem in this country where we're spending $11 billion a day just on our debt. We're adding $11 billion a day on our debt. So, look, I'm happy we're actually having the conversation about clawing back money, but we shouldn't oversell this to the people that this is somehow a silver bullet to the budget problems we're facing.
Okay, so what if they just keep finding more things to add to different future packages for rescission? So let's say this is a first step and they find out that it works. They find it may be the path of least resistance. So they'll say, okay, what's next? Let's go down the list of what Elon Musk put out for us and we'll just keep working down it. Is that something that you would look at as positive? Or do you think that maybe the next step is to take this momentum into something more long-term when it comes to budget talks?
Yeah, 100%. So we've known for quite a while now that the administration only sent one package as a trial balloon to see if the House and Senate were serious about clawing back some of the DOGE cuts. So we're going to pass it. That's great. I'm expecting the White House to send a few more packages over to the House and Senate in September, because remember, they're out for August recess. So in September, we're expecting a few packages that will hopefully claw back billions more dollars. But that's one part about how we address the situation that we're in. So rescissions, clawing back the money is one. We also need to get our structural budgets in order. Right now, Congress is going through that process now. The Speaker and the President have said we want to spend less on discretionary spending. That's things for like the military and all the other departments like energy and health and human services. We want to spend less next year than we did this year. Again, that's great. And when you take that into account with economic growth through deregulation and the president's tax cuts, I think we'll be able to not only create jobs and grow wages, but generate more tax revenue through the process. So when you take all of those things together, I think that's how we actually start to get our fiscal house in order.
I know you couldn't see this because I was on video, but when you said Congress is out in August, I gave you the biggest eye roll. I thought, of course they're not going to work. So what do you do at the National Taxpayers Union? What do you advocate for?
Yeah, we advocate for an efficient government, making sure your tax dollars are spent effectively. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. As we know, we advocate for free markets and lower taxes. So a lot of our attention this year has obviously been focused on extending President Trump's tax cuts that were to expire at the end of the year. So, when you take that into account, we avoided a $4.5 trillion tax increase, and we achieved a number of pro-growth tax reductions across the board, and we're keeping more money in taxpayers' pockets. So now that tax increase is off the table, hopefully, and this is what we're advocating to Congress right now, is we pass the bill. We need to get serious about fixing our government and how much money we spend. So right now the attention is focused on the government spending side of things. Like I said, right now Congress is focused on allocating money for fiscal year 2026. And we're urging them to not only spend less than last year, but pass a fiscal commission that can look into the core drivers of our debt and offer solutions on how do we fix it, and then maybe even a return to pre-COVID spending levels. That alone on discretionary spending would save $400 billion a year, right? It's about 25% of our annual deficits. So it's not enough to solve the problem, but again, it's a real solution to address the real driver of our debt.
Yeah, here's part of the problem that you find. I live in Michigan, so I'm able to do a lot of these shows, but I lived in St. Louis for a long time. And you find that when you talk about pre-COVID dollars versus where state budgets are today, they have factored in so much bloat from government that they put it into their budgets. So all these different states have budgets that have just ballooned to the point where they're ready to explode. So the idea of cutting back federal money scares the states because they are basically spending money they didn't have to begin with in areas they didn't need to spend it to begin with. They only spent it because they were given it and told they had to spend it. So now they are deathly afraid that they're going to have to cut back themselves, just like the federal government is doing. So how does the feds go out there and cut spending without all these states collapsing and all these different people in the states saying, our kids are going to be out on the street starving to death because of what Donald Trump's doing?
Sure. Well, first of all, we shouldn't believe the scare tactics that the other side is going to throw out there. And I like to say 2019 was a great year, right? We had record job creation. The stock market was at record highs, and we had virtually no inflation. For all intents and purposes, it was great. And we spent about $2 trillion less that year than we're spending now. So I think if the other side were to do scare tactics and say the world is going to collapse, there'll be a fiscal calamity, I say if we return to those levels, we actually help avoid a debt problem that will cause a fiscal calamity. If we cannot pay our bills, that is going to lead to economic shocks across the board, and states are going to be in a much worse position then than they would be now if they began to cut. And I think sometimes we do need a little bit of shock therapy, especially at the state level, where you have these states that are so reliant on the federal government to balance their budgets that if some of that revenue or that funding were to go away, they would be in the red, and that's a real problem. And ultimately, what we need to see is just a return to fiscal sanity, because the alternative could be so much worse than if Congress were to turn off the spigot of largesse that flows their way.
Yep. Thomas Aiello joining us here, Senior Director of Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union. And I think if you look at the problems that people face on a day-to-day basis, you can say, okay, how much more is the government spending? And are there still potholes in the streets? So what are they spending it on? That's the question. Are the schools still in poor conditions? Are the test scores still towards the bottom of the barrel nationwide? What are they spending this on? If they're taking the excess, all this extra money, it's going somewhere. Someone's the beneficiary of that. It's all of these things that weren't necessary to begin with. They were only spending it for the sake of spending it. They didn't put it in areas where they really needed it. And for a lot of ways, it's the state's own faults for being so mismanaged, especially the blue states for being so mismanaged. They're out there now with their hair's on fire. So I would think that when we look at the budget and the way that is going, we can't achieve this sort of thing. The thing I'm afraid of is that this $9 billion rescission is just, they're throwing us a bone, and that's going to be the end of it. Like, they're not going to go further down the road. Do you have any fear of that?
Absolutely. I mean, the margins in the House are incredibly tight, and we really only have a 6-seat majority in the Senate. So politics matter in all of this. So that's absolutely a fear. What I do take comfort in is obviously the steps that are being taken by President Trump and the administration to not only reduce the federal workforce, which they can do without Congress, and you can save money that way, but also, as I mentioned, this appropriations process they're doing now. The leadership of Congress and the House and the president have said, we're going to spend less money than we did last year on discretionary spending. That is really where we will see the savings. And it's great that we're finding some savings here and there through DOGE cuts, but at the end of the day, we need to get our fiscal house in order through the regular appropriations process. And what really scares me is we're at our highest debt levels as a percentage of GDP since 1946. Right now, we are fighting no wars. The economy is generally pretty good. So if we were to have some sort of event like another COVID, a war, or an unforeseen economic issue, what will happen to our ability to pay our bills? And that's really what scares me. I think there is a recognition on many in the House, particularly from the Freedom Caucus and others, that we need to fix the house when the sun is shining, because there is a storm brewing just off the horizon. And if we don't fix our roof, we are going to be flooded with with what will come through a debt crisis. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that. We just need the Democratic Party to play ball through that process, but I don't necessarily think they will. So we need to find a plan B in how we address it all.
All right. Thomas Aiello, Senior Director of Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union. If people wanted to look you up, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to our website, ntu.org, or they can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn.
ntu.org. Thomas Aiello, thank you so much for coming on today here in St. Louis. Our Chief Legal Analyst, Brad Young, joining us after the break. We're going to talk some legal issues, including witnesses taking the fifth. We'll talk about that again because it's back in the news. But the auto pen hearing is very interesting on all of this and how it plays into it. So I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've had some random heavy showers moving through the area, and one of those moved through down south on 55. So if you are traveling kind of in the Festus area, watch out for wet roadways, and we've got some delays down there, especially southbound headed for Herculaneum down through Festus, and it's all because of the rain. Now, the accident on southbound 170 near the Forest Park Parkway, this thing has been blocking the left lanes, and we've got a jam behind it that goes back near Olive. Well, they've just about cleared that. In fact, yeah, it looks like they may have just gotten that cleared. So that jam should start to ease, although it's not happening particularly quickly. And the accident that we had westbound 70 at Shreve, things are looking better there as well. Expect some delays on the Illinois side, eastbound 64, east of 255 to about 159. We've got road work too, Route 4 over on the Illinois side causing delays. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You need new windows. If your windows have leaks, your window frames are deteriorating, you have problems with condensation, your windows are difficult to open and close, you want windows that block more outside noise, that's always helpful. If you have your neighbor that's cutting the lawn at 7 a.m. in the morning, or Sue was complaining about leaf blowers the other day, that could help there too. You got to trust a very, very big company here in St. Louis. That's Banner Construction. They are a Pella certified contractor with decades of experience with Pella window installations. So if you're looking for windows for new construction, if you're building a home, if you're looking for replacement windows, you cannot do better than Pella Windows. And I always like to highlight in 2025, they're celebrating their 100th year in business. Banner just celebrated 30 years in business a couple of years ago. They also specialize in James Hardy fiber cement siding. They're a great company. I've become very close with Bill Kaufman. Bill and Sam P run the company. They're proud of the work that they've done. Just go online and see some of the things they have to offer. And if you have a project, they're offering you a free in-home design consultation. It's just a phone call away. 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 3:32. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Where common sense rules the mic. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is our chief legal analyst and partner with Hairstyle Fisher & Young, Brad Young. How are you, sir?
Ryan, I'm doing great, my friend. Blessed to talk to you.
I know. We had you on twice last week when I was filling in. Now, once this week. They must be really paying you overtime for this.
Oh, you have no idea, my friend. No idea.
Well, I saw this story, and this is in the last couple of days. There's a trial going on in Florida regarding Teslas, and it's a jury trial, which is interesting too. So the idea is a person a couple of years ago were using Tesla's autopilot function, and I think they drove into a parked car. Someone ended up dying. So there's a trial now going on about it. So there's a lot of newfangled technological advances that I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with. And do cases like this test the law when there's something that hasn't happened before comes up in front of a judge?
Well, Ryan, this doesn't just test the law; it really shatters it. And let me go through some of the reasons. That's why I find this so fascinating. Legally speaking, obviously somebody died, and that's terrible. But from a legal perspective, it's fascinating. So let me break some of this down for you. During in a traditional negligence tort action, the jury has to find someone was negligent, and negligence is determined by what every person who's ever gone to law school knows is called the reasonable person standard. What would a reasonable person do in the same or similar circumstances? Well, in this case, there is no person. Okay, we've got a computer, so you can't say what would a reasonable self-driving vehicle do in a situation like this, because it doesn't make any sense. Also, when you talk about this idea of negligence, that means that somebody had a duty and they failed that duty. But does that apply to a computer driving a car? I mean, what you might have is some sort of was it negligent programming? I don't know that that's even a thing. All right, you is it the software? Is it the hardware? Is it a sensor? Is it the owner operator? I mean, it blows up and shatters all of our ideas of holding a person negligent because there's no person involved except for the driver. And that really factors into this case as well.
So is the main defense from Tesla in a case like this essentially the driver is responsible for all of the car's actions, even if it's an autopilot mode?
Well, yeah, because, and this is where it was very important for Tesla and other car makers who have auto driving features to make sure that the lawyers get involved. Because one of the requirements is, and we've all seen it, if you've seen someone driving down the road, is that you have to remain awake and alert and essentially with your hands inches from the wheel at all times. Why do those attorneys for the car companies do that? This case demonstrates it, because in this case in Florida, the person who was behind the wheel, I won't say driving, the driver, but the person behind the wheel dropped his cell phone in the floor of his car. He was down, had his head down in the floorboard, searching for his cell phone when the Tesla blew a red light and hit a pedestrian and killed them. And so Tesla's position is there was no auto driving feature even at play here, because the person was supposed to be there. They were by definition negligent because they weren't following our terms of service when it comes to how to operate the vehicle when it's in self-driving mode. So that's their entire defense.
Yeah, so I might have been thinking about a different case there. This is absolutely terrible. And all things considered, what happens when, let's say, state law plays a factor? Like if I was Tesla, I'd be thinking to myself, well, if they're not following state law and what is necessary for you to be on the road, then take it up with the state of Florida. Don't take it up with us, because they're the ones that supersede the things that we put into place. I would almost think I would rely on the state law to protect me in a case like that.
Well, the only state law that applies, even in Florida, is a state law dealing with people driving vehicles and negligence. And so the argument by Tesla is that the person behind the wheel, I keep wanting to call him driver, but he's not, the person behind the wheel was negligent because he was searching for his cell phone instead of being ready to operate the vehicle. So that's the only laws that really apply in this situation, because Florida doesn't have any specific laws about self-driving vehicles. But then it gets even to a bigger issue. If you're suing for negligence against Tesla, isn't that really a product liability case? I mean, it's not really negligence. It's a product liability that the car malfunctioned. but then you have to present evidence that the car did malfunction, that there was a problem with the code, the source code, or the sensors, or it just becomes extremely complex, more complex than really any personal injury lawsuit. And that's why I said at the beginning, it really shatters our idea of suing for vehicular injuries when there's a self-driving car involved.
Well, speaking of a new frontier, artificial intelligence, I saw some hearings, and Josh Hawley was a big part of the clips that were curated online. The idea that you have companies like Meta who are scraping data pools of information, works that are, I'm guessing, under copyright protection for their training of their artificial intelligent computers. And you have these large companies that are relying on other people's intellectual property and using that in order to benefit from that. Now, we don't exactly know how some of these different models work or how these AI computers think or how much of anything was taken from anything. It's just there's some of it that's kind of a mystery. But someone made the argument that if we're going to allow these AI bots and computers to scrape and take whatever they want, does that end copyright? Because if you can't be protected because of what these AI bots are doing, that could be the end of copyright law.
Well, I don't think it ends copyright law, but again, it stretches it maybe beyond what it was intended to do. Look, there's three main issues when it comes to AI and copyright. The first one is if an AI writes a novel, can that be copyrighted? The answer is no. That's already been decided. There was a great case, Ryan. You're going to love this. There was a great case where a monkey took a picture. And the monkey had the camera and the monkey took the picture, and the owner of the monkey tried to copyright it and sell it, and he couldn't do it because he wasn't the photographer. And the Copyright Act says it has to be with human authorship. So the monkey took the picture, so it couldn't be copyrighted. It was in the public domain. So if a chat bot writes a novel, it's in the public domain. It can't be copyrighted. That's number one. Number two is the AI training, as you mentioned, where it scrapes and learns the English language. But most of the time, those AI don't reproduce the novel. So you don't really have a copyright violation unless it's reproduced somewhere. So then the third issue is the reproduction of copyrighted work. So for example, if you go on ChatGPT and you say, give me a detailed summary of the novel, The Hunt for Red October, and then it gives you all the detailed summary, that's a copyright violation. But simply scraping the novel, I don't believe is a copyright violation. If you're just teaching the AI how to learn and then use the English language, it's the reproduction of that copyrighted work that becomes a violation.
I see the videos happen sometimes, the articles written where lawyers try to introduce AI video to put like their opening statement together. Have you seen any of those?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the judges go berserk, right? Because they're like, I want no part of this. We don't want some floating head Max Headroom giving testimony. You remember old Max Headroom? That might be a little before your time. But but you know, they don't want Max Headroom presenting evidence at a trial, and they just throw it out because there is no procedure for allowing an AI avatar to be a witness at a trial.
Right. Well, in case even representing a person, I think someone was trying to represent themselves through ChatGPT, and they would take the text from ChatGPT and run it through a video generator as if some human lawyer was presenting it for him. It wasn't even coming from a real lawyer. It was just the artificial intelligence summary of what he thinks a lawyer should be doing or what they think. One last question about this auto pen hearing, all the witnesses pleading the fifth so far. What happens in instances like this? So I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but the whole idea of trying to get to the bottom of this, it sounds like this oversight committee is going to get no answers from anyone. So pleading the fifth, what happens in instances like this?
Well, for all witnesses except for Biden's doctor, okay, I want to exclude Biden's doctor for a moment. For all other witnesses, if they plead the fifth, the committee has to extend them a grant of immunity that states that they can't be prosecuted for anything that they say. Once that happens, they call the witnesses back, and if they still refuse to testify, they can be locked up for essentially impeding the work of Congress. It becomes a violation of a judicial order on a congressional subpoena. Now, that doesn't apply to the doctor. because the doctor also has doctor-patient privilege that he can fall behind and say, I'm not going to answer, even if you give me a grant of immunity, because it violates the doctor-patient privilege. But for all other witnesses, they can be compelled to testify. And if they don't testify, they're looking at jail time.
All right. There's this moment in Breaking Bad where where you have the two main characters out in the desert and they are about to end the life of this person who's a lawyer. And he says, hold on. Do you have $1? Take $1 and put it in my pocket. Now, puts it in. And Saul Goodman says, okay, now I can represent you. So anything that happens is privileged and you can't, nothing could force me to say anything you tell me. I can represent you. So it's a very big point in the show. Is that how it works? If like, let's say a lawyer says, okay, under duress, put $1 in my pocket. Now we have the confidentiality and now the government can't force me to tell your secrets.
That's true. I will tell you, I've never had the experience of standing in the desert at the point of a gun and taking $1 bill from someone who was nefarious. I've never personally a drug dealer. I've never personally had that experience, but I can tell you conceptually, yes, the attorney-client privilege cannot be busted up unless, and here's where it falls down in that Breaking Bad, unless the attorney knows of future criminal conduct. And then an attorney has an obligation to break attorney-client privilege if the attorney knows or is made aware of future criminal activity.
Oh, well, this kind of blows the storylines apart in that show. What about the instances, the spousal privilege? So let's say Jill Biden, Joe Biden. Could the same privileges for a spouse be extended kind of like a doctor?
Yeah, but it's interesting. It doesn't flow both ways, so to speak. So what happens is this. If spouse A says, I'm not going to testify against spouse B and I'm exerting my spousal privilege, that stands. But if spouse B says, I want to squeal on spouse A, they can't block that testimony. You follow me?
Oh, right.
It really only flows one way.
Can Jill Biden say I'm a doctor of education, so I don't have to double privilege?
Yes, because if we quote Whoopi Goldberg from The View when she was talking about Jill Biden, she says, "Oh, Dr. Jill Biden, she's a wonderful physician." That's a quote from Whoopi Goldberg. But I don't know that there's any academic privilege here just because you happen to have a PhD in education. I don't think that exists.
You know, double privilege is a good name for a book, I think. I'm going to have to write that down. Or some sort of storyline for a show. All right, Brad Young, Harris, Dowell, Fisher & Young, Chief Legal Analyst here on the radio station. Thank you so much for joining us and breaking this down for us.
My pleasure, Ryan. Anytime, buddy.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Wow, we've got random showers out there this afternoon, so you may encounter a wet roadway or maybe not. So just be careful. 55 was getting hit not too long ago, and southbound 55 headed down toward Festus was getting rained on, and rain slowed traffic. Southbound 55 also slowing at Bates. Southbound 270, some moderate volume now. 44 down through 55. Westbound 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road. We've got volume now westbound 6440. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Southbound 270 slow headed down toward Ladue Road. Moderate volume westbound 40 really through Chesterfield Valley, but it really picks up between Highway N and the 70 split, and 70 slow Lake St. Louis Boulevard on out through Wentzville. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox doesn't fake it. He's lived it here in St. Louis. Pro-freedom, pro-family, pro-truth. If it matters to Missouri, it matters to Mark. Mark Cox, mornings on 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
Let me share a few words here about the Missouri Athletic Club because I love being a member. I'm in the middle of the Summer Racquetball League. We'll keep you posted on how that goes. Daughter was coming downtown on Saturdays to do some swim training. Now, she swims in our neighborhood pool. She doesn't swim for the MAC, but the MAC coaches were like, girl, you need to swim with us. She got a little bit intimidated. That's okay, but she does train at the downtown location. Can have some great meals and adult beverages. They're always changing up the dining, keeping that fresh. They have some new folks in charge of some of that at both locations, downtown and west as well. We also have the Charitable Society for Children, which is an extension of the Sports Foundation that helps local charities. This year it's Books for STL Kids, Butterfly Kisses Alliance, Kids Smart Tools for Learning. We're already taking nominations for next year's charities. So if you're an MAC member, you can go online and you can apply and put the application in right now. All of the information about the great things that the MAC does here in the St. Louis area, both downtown and out west, can be easily found at mac-stl.org today for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Marie, is that you?
Oh, hi, Barb. How you doing?
Better now. Did you know we had a little health scare with Jeff?
Oh, no. What happened?
Well, he had been short of breath and was really tired a lot of the time. He just thought he was getting old and was out of shape, but it turns out it was heart valve disease.
How did you figure it out?
He finally went to the doctor, and she was able to listen to his heart and detected the problem. I didn't realize it, but heart valve disease is more common than you'd think. They were able to replace the valve, and he's feeling so much better now.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
More than 5 million Americans are diagnosed with heart valve disease every year, but most people know nothing about the condition, and it can be deadly if untreated. That's why it's important to listen to your heart and ask your doctor if your symptoms may be due to heart valve disease or if you're at high risk. A message brought to you by Heart Valve Voice US. For more information about the symptoms and treatments for valve disease, go to heartvalvevoice-us.org.
This is St. Louis Conservative. No filters, no fluff. Mark Reardon is back on the mic.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. I always love conversations with Brad Young because I can ask him anything that is not serious, but he'll have a serious answer for it. And he still allows me to ask him questions after all the dumb ones I've come up with. Ethan, back in the studio. We were talking a little bit after that segment and during the break about Shane Gillis last night was hosting the ESPYs. Number one, I had no idea the ESPYs were going on. Did you know that it was happening last night?
Not until I started seeing the clips on Twitter. I didn't know until I started seeing that people were just absolutely losing their mind at what Shane Gillis was saying on Twitter.
Well, that's how I found out about it this morning. All of a sudden, it's Shane Gillis galore on people posting clips on YouTube and Twitter and all these other places. And I thought, okay, I want to play some of these, but then you started naming some of the clips that we've been pulling, and I thought, I don't know, are we allowed to play this? Like Drew is pulling some of the racier ones in the back. Drew's thinking, how can I get these people fired by playing Shane Gillis jokes from the ESPYs last night? He's like, okay, if this one doesn't get him fired, we're definitely going to go to the next one, and then we'll definitely, for sure, after the third, you'll be gone.
I got a couple pulled up here on Twitter. I think we could play. Here's one last night on Shea Gilgeous Alexander foul baiting.
Okay.
Well, give me 1 second to see if it'll actually play. Our audio's is having some issues now.
Sometimes trying to get it from a computer source to the right spot. We can always do this in the next hour too. But the idea that Shane Gillis went in there and he thought, I'm going to be as controversial as possible, which is Shane Gillis being Shane Gillis. He's hilarious, though, by the way. I know, Ethan, you're a big fan of his. He is like the top of the game. Is there a bigger comedian right now? It's like him and the other guy that's the Christian that I like.
Nate Bargatze?
Nate Bargatze. Those two are like the top two comedians in the country right now.
Yeah, they're both huge. They're both doing really well. Bargatze tends to be a little bit cleaner. But I mean, Shane Gillis, it's just refreshing to, I think there was a stretch, right, where even comedians were kind of being pressed to have to be politically correct, and I'm like, it's not really funny if it's politically correct. It can be, right? But it's so much more fun, right, when and you get this from the crowd last night where you're kind of like, oh man, should I be able to laugh? That's how you know it's good, right? When when it's to the point where people are uncomfortable hearing it. That's how you know it's good quality humor.
He did have a throwback to Norm Macdonald's time hosting the ESPYs. And the notorious Norm Macdonald, one of his biggest jokes ever made. Do you remember that one from Norm back when he hosted?
Okay, I have it working now. Hold on. I have it actually working. Here we go.
There's one thing I want to say before I get out of here, and this is a dumb joke. You guys aren't going to like it, but it was it's just a Norm Macdonald joke that I loved when he hosted the ESPYs, and I'm going to do it now. Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this year. He's the first defensive player since Charles Woodson to win the Heisman. Congratulations, Travis Hunter, winning the Heisman. That's something they can never take away from you unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case they can take that away from you. Well, see, a lot of you don't like me, and that's okay.
Well, that was, keep in mind, right off of OJ and the trial and all these other things with him. And Norm Macdonald does that joke. And these athletes are like, oh, I can't laugh at that. And some were, and some were like, oh, can't do that. Ken Griffey Jr. did the, no thanks. Can't laugh. But Norm Macdonald was the best at jokes like that. He was so good. All right, let's play some clips after we get back in the 5 o'clock, right after the news there. How about we do it there? Because I don't want to get fired. I mean, I don't think you do either. Some of these other ones. The Caitlin Clark jokes.
Here's the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander one.
SGA is here. Give it up for SGA. Hell yeah, bro. And now everybody sitting around him is in foul trouble.
All right, you have to explain that to me. It's funny, but I don't know why.
So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander won the MVP. He was the NBA MVP this past year, but people get so mad at him because he really emphasizes drawing the fouls. Like, you know how LeBron really plays, kind of, people get on him for playing soft and he kind of flops everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Shea Gilgeous, Alexander, who they call SGA, is by far the most dramatic player in the NBA as far as any time there's any sort of touch or anything. He's just flopping everywhere, but he gets these calls. And so that's why the joke is that everyone around him all of a sudden just sitting in the crowd was in foul trouble.
You know, LeBron, it's just comical, the stuff he complains about. But NBA, people watch that and they see this flopping. And one, they think this is like soccer. Two, they think, I'm so glad they don't do this garbage in hockey. Could you imagine? Like, I'm sure there are some players that acted like this, but hockey players are generally, they don't put up with this kind of stuff. If you're out there flopping around and acting like SGA or LeBron or whatever it is, they'll give you real something to cry about. Like, they'll put you through the glass.
Mm-hmm.
They'll put you over the board into the opposition's right there on the bench. All right, well, do you think it was a success? Do you think it's a good thing that the ESPYs brought him in to be controversial, say these type of jokes? Is this mission accomplished for them, getting the attention they need?
Absolutely, right? I mean, the heat that Disney and ESPN have gotten is that they are, right, like they are not centered, right, as far as a lot of their stuff goes. So I feel like this is really good for them to bring in someone that was, I don't know, I feel even if, the crowd wasn't sure how to take it, I feel like it pushes them back a little bit more towards the center of the aisle. I don't know if I would say they're completely in the center now, but it definitely, I say kudos to ESPN for being willing to, not make it an entire story about politics and actually have it just be a night where you could just laugh. So I thought it was very well done.
I got to say, when it comes to sports, football, whatever it may be, they're trying their best to get as many female people to watch their events, their games. And if you go back the last couple of years, it's paying so much attention to Taylor Swift. Oh, look, Taylor Swift, her boyfriend plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. And they do everything they can to appeal to the female viewer because they got the guys wrapped up. So I thought, okay, ESPN, if they're going to stay in that sort of lane, then Shane Gillis will not appeal to them. So they're not going to get the demographic they're trying to build on. But then they throw it and they say, here's one for the boys. We're going to let you have it on the ESPYs. All right, we might have to play some more clips, or maybe this will come up at some point else in the show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
out, we could have some wet roadways throughout the area, especially along I-55. It's just kind of been random showers. On the Illinois side, some volume that we don't usually see, and some of that happens to be on 64 westbound at 157 in the O'Fallon area, also due to that heavy rain. Now, southbound 55 on the Missouri side, slow headed down toward Bates. And to the south of there, it's still slow in the Crystal City area down through Festus. And we had some rain along 270, especially between 44 and 55, so some slow-moving traffic there. Out west, 6440 lines up past Winghaven, out through the 70 split. 70, it's just got moderate volume out there from Lake St. Louis Boulevard out. Now, if you're headed into Illinois, we look okay on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort, offering small ship experiences with a shore excursion included in every port and programs designed for cultural enrichment. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com.
A powerful threat calls for a greater response.
When there's a battle, bring strength.
When there's a problem, seek answers.
When there is doubt, give hope.
Not tomorrow.
Not in a few years. But right now.
Some battles must be faced together. Cancer fighters stand up to cancer every day. And you can be part of this battle too.
Visit standuptocancer.org/American Airlines to learn more.
Together, we can save lives.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Fox News, President Trump wants to reopen the prison on Alcatraz Island after its doors closed in 1963. Fox's David Spunt's there at the prison with more on this possible reopening.
Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who came here, admitted that this is not going to be an easy climb. This building is rotting literally from inside. It's well over 100 years old with quite a history. However, they were sent here on a fact-finding mission from their boss, President Trump. We joined them for this exclusive tour. Check out the feasibility guide to see what it would take to turn Alcatraz into a working prison again.
The administration is already working on getting estimates on how much it would cost to renovate the prison. President Trump taking a swing at the large number of Republicans who are calling for the full release of case files related to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, saying whoever's calling for the release has been duped by a hoax being pushed by Democrats. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt calling out Democrats today for their so-called hypocrisy in the matter.
The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes.
The FBI and the Justice Department out with a memo earlier this month saying a review of Epstein's case files had been completed and that there was no incriminating client list and his death in prison was indeed a suicide. And police officials arresting Seth Jason, a former government employee, accusing him of making threats against Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene near Capitol Hill. Interim U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, who shared details on the charges.
Jason is charged with threatening to murder Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as members of her family.
The 64-year-old Maryland resident also had several belongings seized, including a flash drive, phones, an iPad, and more. At the close on Wall Street, the Dow was up 230 points. America's listening to Fox News.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant.
who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Scattered thunderstorms going through the afternoon, some with very heavy downpours of rain and intense lightning, 72. Overall, it's not a widespread severe weather outbreak, but there will be a couple of strong storms. Friday, partly sunny, it's cooler, but still the chance of a pop storm. 85 on Friday, then all about summer this weekend and all of next week. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
If you're in the market for a car, whether it is a car for your everyday use, a weekend car, a motorcycle, I'm going to guide you into a great buying and selling experience, and that's Mastercars Inc. in Granite City. It is a used car dealership with new car caliber. I've known these guys now more than a decade. I've purchased many vehicles from them. We had to depart with a beautiful orange crush Jeep Wrangler. We sold it to Mastercars Inc. and got a great price. So keep that in mind. If you have a great car that's in great shape, they'll buy it from you. You can also trade it just like you can in a traditional dealership. But if you need a vehicle, a particular vehicle, we have a Toyota 4Runner right now. You can go to them and say, I want a Toyota 4Runner or a Subaru or whatever the brand, make, and model is, and say, I want it in this color with these features and this many miles, because the price is going to be affected by how many miles. They're going to put you in a vehicle that they believe in, that they trust. You might not want a truck from up in the northern hemisphere where there's a lot of salt damage, right? Alex and Gary are dialed into nuances when it comes to buying and selling vehicles. They're awesome. You're going to love them. The website, mastercarsinc.com. They're in Granite City, mastercarsinc.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
People join Walk MS to raise awareness and funds that change the world for everyone affected by multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the brain and spinal cord. It's the most common neurological disease leading to disability in young adults. Walk MS brings communities together, creating teams with friends, loved ones, and coworkers to rally around those we care about and end MS forever. Join us. Together we are stronger. Walk MS fundraising accelerates research breakthroughs and life-changing breakthroughs. It will take all of our passion, determination, and fundraising to end MS forever. Together, we can change the world for people with MS. Join us. Register today, start a team, and raise funds at walkms.org.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Now, try not to get fired playing some Shane Gillis clips here from the ESPYs last night. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Some of these are not... It's not like the FCC will fine you, but at the very least, the boss would call you and say, sit down, we need to talk. Some of these jokes.
Gosh. Yeah, do you want to risk this, Ryan?
Nah, not really. Some of these jokes are, I think, fine to play. Some of these are not. I think mission accomplished for ESPN. They wanted to, hey, you know what? This is for the boys. Let's have some fun. And Shane Gillis is ultimately that type of comedian. And I think people are talking about it. I think that the positive will outweigh the negative when it comes to the backlash. And who knows, he might be back again sometime in the future. But either way, if their whole point was getting people to understand that they exist still when no one knows they exist, then mission accomplished. They were able to do it.
This one, I think we can definitely play this one right here, Ryan.
So let's back up in case someone's just joining us. Shane Gillis, a popular comedian. He was the host of the ESPYs, which is ESPN's award ceremony, yearly award ceremony. It's been going on for a long time, and they always have a monologue from a comedian. And Shane Gillis could be known at times for being quite controversial and also quite very, very, very funny. He may be the hottest comedian in the country right now, him and Nate Bargatze. So let's play some clips from the monologue last night, why everyone's talking about it on social media right now. So
Donald Trump wants to stage a UFC fight on the White House lawn. The last time he staged a fight in D.C., Mike Pence almost died. No, you don't have to do that. It was fine. I didn't write it. Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that.
Okay, so you can tell when they do a shot of the crowd, you can look at it, and there are some people, they're thinking to themselves, I can't be caught on camera laughing at this. Other people are like rolling on the ground. There's like only two reactions that you can have to this sort of thing. All right, Shane Gillis, you can kind of tell, he has this thing where he says, all right, I don't care if you don't like it. Like he has this thing where he points out, whatever, you don't like that. Okay, I guess you don't like me. You got me. He's very good at summarizing reactions, I think, as a defense mechanism, but then he turned it into part of the comedy, which is really good.
He did this multiple times last night where it was like, oh, all right, you guys didn't like that one, or I get it. You don't like me. You're not a fan. He did that. He did that a few times. I didn't write that one. Like he's really good at that. Like you said, he did that on when he hosted SNL. I don't know, probably a year ago also. So that is definitely one of his strengths.
Mm-hmm. What's the one with Shohei Ohtani? Do you have that clip? Is this good?
I do. Yeah. All right, here we go. This is on you, not me.
Wait, hold on. Hold on before you play it. Then is it bad? This
is the Bill. This is the Bill Belichick one I was telling you about.
Oh, okay. This is no big deal. Then
they're combined.
Okay.
You think that's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Bill Belichick has, for reference, a very young girlfriend. It's very weird. Let's put it that way. I think the age gap, everyone's pointed out to it and saying, what is up here? Like, what's the age gap there? It's like 50 years or something?
49 years, I think.
49-year age gap. Bill Belichick running around with this young lady. Okay, people are going to make fun of it. That's how it goes.
Shohei Ohtani couldn't make it tonight. Man, I hope his interpreter didn't bet that he was going to be here. Shohei is a once-in-a-generation talent. No one's been able to do what he does at so many positions, pitcher, hitter, and bookie. A bookie is what Bill Belichick reads to his girlfriend before bedtime.
Come on, that's funny.
They do. They read The Very Horny Caterpillar, The Little Engine That Could But Needed a Pill First, and of course, the classic Goodnight Boobs.
Wait, I didn't know that last one, but it's okay. Juvenile, yes, funny. I think that's hilarious. They hate that. Remember when they did the roast to Tom Brady and he got so upset because someone started making Bill Belichick jokes?
It was Robert Kraft jokes.
Oh, Robert Kraft jokes.
Yeah.
Was it Kraft? Oh,
it was Kraft. Yeah. Because he's the owner of the Patriots, and like there had been
got caught at massage parlors.
Yeah. Well, he had videos of him like kissing like people on the lips like that aren't his wife. It's just kind of weird. Like it's like why he just kisses people on the lips, and I think they were like kind of picking her on that, and Brady like literally walked up and was like, "Stop doing that right now." He's like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
At a roast, you have to stop telling jokes about someone else. And by the way, they paid Brady. How much did he get paid for that? It was ridiculous.
Probably a pretty good chunk, I'd imagine.
I want to say it was like $10 million for him to do that or something crazy. They paid him, Tom Brady, to be roasted, and he's dictating the jokes that could be told about him. When we come back, we're going to get to Sue's news, and I think we need a break from Shane Gillis. Hopefully I don't get called into the boss's office. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we had some rain move through the area, so you may encounter a wet roadway or not. You know, depends on where you are. We've got an accident westbound 6440 past Prospect. Now, this thing has been blocking the left lane, and traffic is jammed behind it. Heaviest back to Lake St. Louis Boulevard, but it does go back through Highway N. Now, there's some volume northbound 270 at 70, and southbound 270 a little bit at Ladue Road, and then a slow pocket or two all the way down through 55. 55 slowing, especially headed for Bates in the construction zone. 44 westbound slow in front of the Arch grounds, and some slow-moving traffic on the Illinois side. We had some rain over there, so you could encounter some wet roadways or a delay on 64 at 157 or just east of 159. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you have been in a car accident in the past and have settled your case, I may have some good news. Some unethical lawyers have people known as runners who come directly to your hospital room or home and solicit your case. It's a disbarable offense. Anyone that would hire these scumbags needs to have their heads examined. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Now for the good news. If this happened to you, we will sue these lowlifes and fight to get all your fees back. And then look and see if these bottom feeders also malpractice your case and sue them for that too. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Visit forthepeople.com for a free consultation or call Pound Law on your cell, pound 529. If someone does this to you, call the Bar Association and report them. Let's fight these bums. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
Now, back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. And I was just checking my phone. I did not get a message from the boss. So that is a good sign we're in the clear to play even the more risky stuff. I'm just kidding.
I imagine we're probably not the only station to play that this morning.
No, we're not playing the other
country.
stuff. No, I just want to say, just because we had the opportunity to have those clips played, why did so Drew picked the ones that would get us in trouble on purpose? I think he was purposely seeing what would happen if we were to play the clips.
That seems like a Drew thing to do.
Doesn't it, though? All right, let's go to Sue's news.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's news. Brought to you by Sue.
Do we have the bell, Fred?
I am looking for it.
It's right over here. It's by Wiggins' spot. Right there.
Oh,
No, we have it. We have it.
Okay.
Right there, Fred. Right in front of you. There you go. He found it.
Okay. Well, it is National World Emoji Day. Okay. National Yellow Pig Day. What?
What?
Yellow?
Yeah, I don't. National Peach Ice Cream Day. Now, that deserves a ding. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And National Tattoo Day. Now, for National Tattoo Day, Brian Regan has a little bit on tattoos. I thought we could play that.
Thinking of getting a tattoo? But I want to get a tattoo that's unique, you know? I don't want a tattoo like everybody else. So I want to get a tattoo of a blender. A big one on my chest, you know? Then when I go to the public pool, take my shirt off, everyone will be spellbound. They'd be like, Is that a blender? Born to frappe. I have unusual tattoo ideas. I think someone should get a tattoo of a dozen Easter eggs, but tell the tattoo artist to hide them. You get back in shape, you might find a golden egg.
That kind of amused me. And then on this day in history, 16 years ago, you might find a golden egg. In 2009, legendary CBS anchorman Walter Cronkite passed away. He was 92. I can't believe it's been 16 years since he passed. And of course, he would say, and that's the way it is.
Fred, did you ever get to talk to Walter Cronkite over the years through KMOX?
Oh, I didn't think of that's a good question.
Well, with the CBS affiliation.
Charles Osgood has been here a couple of times, but never Walter Cronkite.
See, I didn't know as part of the affiliation, sometimes they would have the big anchors would call in for special occasions or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. Can you imagine? Good grief. I talked to Charles Osgood once because I called about when he took over CBS Sunday Morning after who was the guy who did it for years?
Charles Kuralt.
And I left Charles Osgood a message. I was going to, and then it turns out he picked up the phone, and it freaked me out. You know, they just had sent me. I said, can I talk to Charles? And he, instead of voicemail, I got him, and I just said, I just wanted to call and say it was difficult losing Kuralt, but I think you're doing a nice job. And he said, thank you. He was really nice.
Oh, not to brag or anything, but I think Fred has met maybe one of the most popular people in the entire planet. Didn't the Pope want to meet you, Fred?
No, Billy Graham.
Oh, Billy Graham. That's right.
Graham.
Billy Graham. That's still very good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Wait, he wanted to meet you?
Yeah, we met when he was in town. He said he wanted to get together, so we got together at the convention center in the annals of the convention center and talked for a while.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that was nice. He grew up listening to KMOX, so he's always been a big KMOX fan.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. His son, who looks exactly like him, when he shows up on TV doing a spot for something, I'm always like, woo.
And his son is the one that now runs Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah,
is that
Franklin
right?
Graham.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, wow. Also, on this day in history, 10 years ago in 2015, Ant-Man was released.
Good one.
Starring Paul Rudd. And that's just 10 years. I don't know where time goes.
Michael Douglas, I think, was in that too.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I got to be honest. If you would have said, when did Ant-Man come out? I would have said 2010. I thought it was older than that.
Wow.
No, it was in one of the... It wasn't in the original generation. It was in one of the newer phases.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. I mean, I made it through part of that. So it couldn't have been too bad.
It's a middle-of-the-pack Marvel movie, but it is very funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny. Like when you go to like Rotten Tomatoes and they give you a percentage, like 7.1%. That's a fresh movie. For Sue, it's the percentage of the movie she got through. So if it's like an 85%, that means she got through 85% of the movie, and that's pretty good.
Oh my gosh! Especially if it's some sort of Marvel thing or anything along those lines, or Star Wars. If I make it 5-10 minutes in, it's impressive.
Oh boy!
All right, the British Open began today in Northern Ireland, and I believe it started crazy early our time, but they say there's some people who get up. It would have been like 1 o'clock in the morning. Hardcore fans had to get up early to see it live. Scotty Scheffler looking for his first win there for the golf fans. And did you guys hear the story about the American Idol music supervisor and her husband that were found shot to death? Oh my gosh. That happened earlier this week. And
wait,
police,
what happened? I missed this. No.
Oh, Fred, you can explain.
Yeah, so this couple, they're in their 70s. Their family, their kids hadn't heard from them in several days. And apparently they were found, they did a wellness check, and they were found dead, shot to death brutally in their homes on Monday. And they believe they were killed on Thursday. And they think it was during a burglary attempt. and they've
exactly
made an
right.
arrest of a suspect that they could see, on video. And
Yep.
now they're trying to put together the timeline and some evidence that he was actually in the neighborhood in time for the shooting.
Oh my God.
Oh,
He was a
boy.
22-year-old guy, and they think that he jumped the fence of Robin Kay and Thomas DeLuca's house and went in through a door that was left unlocked. And I think they left it unlocked because they have this massive fence. But somehow the guy got over it. And just like Fred said, he was burglarizing the place when the couple arrived home, and he allegedly shot them.
That's awful.
It is awful, but the fact that they got him is a positive. And his fingerprints were found in the house, they say. And they say they do have footage of him, just like Fred said, on security cameras. So they're trying to organize it all. But it was enough to arrest him. So at least something has happened.
Wow,
That's so
that's
scary.
something else. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is
All these different stories of people breaking in. Remember when someone tried to do that to George Harrison? They broke into his house and stabbed him. You remember that one?
Wow, that's going back. But I do kind of. They
terrible.
stabbed him? I didn't remember that part.
I think that's what happened. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but there has been instances where celebrities have their houses broken into, and it's recently as the pro athletes, people have been on the road playing ball, and then they get their house ransacked.
You know what?
This has been happening.
You're right, because and where else are you going to find someone exact schedule but a football player, any kind of pro player, you know exactly when they're on the road.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was the big name one from the this past NFL season. And then even, I think it just came out today, Ketel Marte, who plays for the Diamondbacks, he was an All-Star, and he was at the All-Star game. And I guess he was robbed when he was at the festivities in Atlanta. So pretty crazy stuff.
Oof. It's scary to think, though, that you just come home and there's somebody already in your house burglarizing it, and then you just, horrible.
Would your dogs allow that, Sue?
Oh, my gosh, Fred, they'd roll out the red carpet. Can you scratch
take
me
what you
here?
want. Just give me a nice little pet.
Yeah, that's right. If you could just,
Yeah.
You're
here to
scratch
feed me.
a little behind the
That's
ear.
right.
Yeah. But maybe, I mean, I don't actually know if there were somebody they didn't know, they may actually bark. If somebody walks down the street and they hear it, then there's barking.
Yeah,
But
if a burglar broke into my house, I think Luna, my dog, would let them in, unless the burglar brought another dog with him. And then it would be a whole different story. Then there'd be barking like crazy.
Yeah.
That's what we need is burglars carrying dogs.
That's
And then
right.
That's right. All the dogs would go nuts. Well, Fred found this story, and I love it. Okay. President Trump announced that Coca-Cola has agreed to use real cane sugar in its soda in the U.S. Bell, please. I mean, now, and I think now he's known for drinking Diet Coke, which I don't think has any kind of real sugar in it. It can't, right? It's got to have the fake stuff. But he is an appreciator of Coca-Cola, and the president expressed his gratitude to Coke for the decision, stating, "Oh, this is very Trump. This will be a very good move by them. You'll see. It's just better."
I don't even know if Coca-Cola has agreed to it yet, though, or not. They say they're still thinking about it. It's still in the pipeline.
Well, the fact that they're pondering it makes me go, I mean, they say it's been since the 80s that they've been using high fructose corn syrup. People now, when they go to Mexico or other countries, are really big about bringing that back or ordering the real sugar Coke that they have elsewhere. They also say, well, we have cost concerns. We'll see. Some Democrats, of course, are saying, oh, this is a distraction from Epstein. Who knows? But in 2025, Coca-Cola CEO James Quincy presented Trump with a limited edition commemorative inaugural Diet Coke bottle to celebrate his second inauguration. So I guess they're buddies. That kind of made me laugh.
Sometimes you go to the grocery store and you see the Cokes still in the glass bottles, which are fantastic. You can buy the cane sugar ones. It's a special treat if you can find one with it. But if they were all that way, what a great change that would be. And I know Make America Healthy Again has been a big effort for that. Even switching out some of these little ingredients can make big differences over time.
Agreed. I think that makes sense. I hope they do it. And here's our feel-good story of the day. Okay. It's another dog story. A 10-year-old chocolate lab in Alaska slipped out of his collar on a camping trip on the 4th of July, and his owners didn't think they'd ever see him again. But then a pilot heard about it. They posted it on Facebook, and they said, here's our dog. His name is Coda. If you happen to be out there and you see him. Well, the pilot loves dogs, and he went up to fly, went to find the dog. And the pilot landed about 1.5 miles from where the dog went missing, and within minutes, Coda, because he's a sweet chocolate lab, just came strolling out of the woods to see who he was. He flew him to Anchorage, reunited him with his owners, and we don't have time for the sound that goes with that. But they were thrilled. So she said, gosh, he was a little traumatized, but he seems still really sweet. Aww. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random facts. An average of 350 slices of pizza are sold in the U.S. every second.
Oh, nice.
350 slices of pizza every second in the U.S.
Some right now.
It is the perfect food.
It is the perfect food. And that's it for Sue's News.
All right. Senior research analyst for the Media Research Center's Newsbusters, Bill D'Agostino, is joining us after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. Netflix reported second quarter earnings today after the closing bell that were slightly better than expectations. The streaming giant bettered LSEG estimates for earnings per share and revenue. Shares of Netflix are down nearly 0.9% in after-hours trading. Uber is announcing a $300 million partnership to deploy more than 20,000 robotaxis over the next 6 years as demand for driverless cars kicks into high gear. The companies plan to launch the robotaxis in a major U.S. urban hub next year. Shares of Pepsi rose by 1% after it reported quarterly earnings and revenue that topped analysts' expectations, despite weaker demand for its food and drinks in North America. On Wall Street, stocks were higher, with the three major averages gaining anywhere from 0.5 to 0.75 percentage point. Crude oil futures for August are up 1.8% below $68 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Pure opportunity. It's what Michigan is all about. The opportunity to do more. The opportunity to connect with the best talent. The opportunity for people of all backgrounds to grow and expand their business. The opportunity to live and work in a state where paychecks go further. The opportunity is now, and is right here in Michigan. Visit MichiganBusiness.org to discover all the ways the Michigan Economic Development Corporation can help your business thrive.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:31 is the time. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Consistently right.
It's a ritual.
97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in. I'm a big fan of Newsbusters. I think they do fantastic homework when it comes to analyzing the way the media portrays certain topics. A lot of times you'll find that they'll watch endless hours of newscasts, and they'll say, "Isn't that strange that they're only covering this for 8 seconds among all the major networks, but they'll go 20 minutes on something that you would look at and say, wait, 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 you're only doing that because you hate Donald Trump." And over and over and over again, you get to see these type of editorial decisions that are made behind the scenes, and it gives you a glimpse into the decision making and why they make these decisions, which makes you question why they're covering things to begin with. Joining us now is senior research analyst for the Media Research Center's Newsbusters, Bill D'Agostino. Thank you for coming on to the show. We appreciate it. Hi, Bill. Are you there? Oh, I can kind of hear you. It's like I'm in the pocket right now. Oh, hi, Bill.
Yeah, am I coming through all right?
We got you now. How are you today, sir?
Okay, great. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I know that you do a lot of different research, and one of the big topics that people are covering right now is the story out of New York and their nominee, Mamdani. What have you seen right now in the way that he is being covered and what they're deciding to cover on this?
Well, there have been a few instances where the networks, we focus specifically on broadcast networks for most of this coverage, or these coverage studies, by the way, like that's ABC, CBS, and NBC, because their evening newscasts get about 19 to 20 million viewers per night, which makes them basically the most watched newscast in the country, more so than any cable show. But on those, we've seen a few instances where they're willing to describe him as left-wing, but they won't go much beyond that. And they're focusing almost entirely on the economic aspect. They don't really feel comfortable talking about anything that would, genuinely confuse or upset people about him. So in other words, we're seeing that they're largely trying to sanitize his platform. For example, the fact that he has espoused openly communist views, right? He's talked about seizing the means of production, his desire, his wish that one day we could abolish private property. I mean, that is communism, right? That's like, there's no splitting hairs there. The fact that he's talked about, for example, taxing whiter neighborhoods for being whiter neighborhoods, that's gotten zero coverage. They don't like discussing anything that would basically paint him as the sort of radical leftist that has taken over so much of the Democratic Party's base.
I think about him as an individual and all the different controversies you read about, where even those in the same party think, oh, boy, I really don't want to stand next to this guy. And then they find some different politicians who have stood by him in the past, and they're like, oh, they're doing their best to try to distance themselves from him.
Right.
I look at this as a news story. So let's put it this way. Why do you think New York City and the mayor of New York City, for the most part, people think of it as a pretty liberal place to begin with? Does that play a factor, you think, sometimes in their decision-making process, which is, well, the people that are actually affected by this probably don't care as much?
It could. I think the fact that he is serving as a stand-in for the future of the Democratic Party, right? He's basically an AOC. He's this young, extremely left-wing, I would say, like socialist communist ideologue. And at a time when the Democratic Party has their back against a wall to try to placate their base, right? Their base is significantly further to the left and more extreme politically than most of the elected politicians are. They're finally reaching a point, I think, where a lot of strategists within the party are starting to say, okay, do we actually need to start meeting them on the left, right? Do we actually need to start careening leftward even more to meet our base there? Or are we just going to lose enthusiasm? And so this is kind of nerve-wracking for the media, who are, of course, Democratic Party boosters, because they know that these ideas are not popular to a wider audience, right? They're not popular unless you're a 20-something vote blue no matter who kind of person. And so what they have to do, it falls to them to sanitize these candidates and these ideas, which basically means that they're trying to help the Democratic Party sell something extremely radical as though it were moderate.
Joining us here is Bill D'Agostino. He's senior research analyst for the Media Research Center's Newsbusters. And this is kind of adjacent, but I think about the Biden health cover-up and all the work you guys did looking at every time there was a story about this, it not being covered over and over and over and over again. Then all of a sudden, Joe
Right.
Biden's out of office, and all of a sudden, everyone's talking about it because Jake Tapper, or whoever, is going to put out a book. Is that any consolation prize to you that one day maybe you'll get a little vindication that these things should have been covered, or after it's too late, you're kind of bitter that it took them so long? How do you feel when things like this come out after the fact, when you were there screaming it for so long?
Well, there's never some grand "I told you so" moment where they come to you hat in hand and say, "You were right, we were wrong, and we're sorry." That's just never something you can expect of the news media, because I think that to have the kind of job that, say, a CNN or MSNBC anchor has, you have to be borderline physically incapable of experiencing shame. So there's never going to be that kind of mea culpa, "You guys were right, we were so wrong, we're sorry" moment. I mean, like, look at Russiagate, right? I mean, I think that if you really cornered one of these people and forced them to answer for Russiagate, they'd probably just start denying what the allegations even were back then, what some of the things that the news media were saying back then, right? They would try to sanitize it. In other words, they would whitewash it, they would downplay it. And that's kind of what Tapper's book is as well. Tapper's book is an effort for him, and by proxy the entire media, to run over to the side of Republicans and say, "Oh my gosh, wow, Biden is really old. I can't believe they lied to us about that."
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, what do you mean they? Get back on your side. You're part of the they, buddy.
That's right.
So it's a bit thankless in that regard. But you learn to get appreciation just from being vindicated in the eyes of people who are actually paying attention, right? Because the media certainly won't give you the vindication, but the general public will.
I find it so fascinating just looking at what is the decision-making process, what they decide to spend their most time on versus the things they decide not to spend time on. It's very telling to me. But I want to go back to PBS and NPR, but in PBS in particular, what you find a lot of Democrats in Congress saying, "Oh, they're not even that one-sided. In fact, oh, they're not one-sided at all." I know you've been watching PBS and some of the coverage that they decide to use as part of their news coverage as well. What do you think about cutting their funding and part of it being that they're so one-sided? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, what do I think about the cutting of PBS and NPR? Well, we have a half day tomorrow in celebration. I'll say that much. This has been a big, no joke. This has been a big goal of ours for a very long time. And if anybody is ever feeling squeamish about that, just swing over to Newsbusters and take a look at some of the clips that we've put together of NPR and PBS coverage, and just be thankful that your tax dollars aren't paying for that anymore. If they want to continue being borderline MSNBC but boring, they're perfectly free to do that without my money being garnished without my salary being garnished to pay for it. Right. That's basically the long and short of it.
Yeah, and I talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday, and I think that one of the things I don't really hear people talking about mostly is that as a broadcaster and someone in the business, we've gone through many different instances where a lot of my colleagues and good people have lost their jobs because there's just not funding. The amount of money is just, there's not enough to go around. And I keep thinking, why should a competitor of ours, an NPR station, be getting government subsidies so people can continue to spout this left-wing garbage when the rest of the broadcast world have to make decisions and compromises based on what the audience they're trying to reach is trying to do? And I'm sure that the people that work there are highly compensated, and they got more people than they need to. Now they're going to have to make a decision just like
certainly,
everyone
yeah.
else. In our competition shouldn't get a leg up by getting government funding, especially because they don't serve the public better than any of these other terrestrial radio stations do.
No, they absolutely don't. And in fact, that was a big sticking point or not sticking point, I guess, but like line of defense of theirs that we spent a decent amount of time tearing down because they would routinely say, well, for example, we're needed for these emergency alerts, right? I mean, like Americans need us to give out all of the emergency alerts. And we said, well, okay, how'd you do on the Texas flooding? And it turns out that their local NPR station took, I think it was, what did we find? Hours to get the alert out about it, like slower than local radio stations, in other words, by leaps and bounds, right? And I mean, any public broadcaster is required to send out those alerts, right? And those serve 96% of the country, right? 96% of the country has access to those through some means other than NPR. And the people who don't are rapidly getting access to things like Starlink. And generally, if you're in that 4%, you're also not getting access to PBS or NPR. So it's they are beyond redundant, right? I mean, Look, Elmo's safe, right? He's privately owned now. Mr. Rogers is dead, unfortunately. Bob Ross as well, God rest his soul. And MSNBC already exists for the left-wing stuff, and C-SPAN already exists as a sleep aid. So I really don't see what they are offering that somebody else isn't already.
And part of what we have been trained to do, at least as people that consume media, is that we support the people we want to support. There's Patreons for independent creators that are highly successful. They're able to do the things they want based on the support of their patrons. And same thing, if you want to support your local station, give them the money, get your tote bag, and be happy the programming is still going on. That model exists for them. Go ahead and solicit the local businesses that want to do the same. You can continue to operate just without taxpayer money. They can do it. So enough with this. We should have cut them off a long time ago. Real quick, if people wanted to see your work on Newsbusters or anywhere else, where can people go?
Yeah, come check us out at newsbusters.org. We update the site practically hourly. We're constantly putting on new stuff there. That's for our long-form studies and for our day-to-day bias tracking. You can follow us at Newsbusters on Twitter as well. And of course, if you are so inclined, follow me at Twitter at banned_Bill. Although I'm not banned anymore, or I guess X, not Twitter, right?
Well, sure, but I say you're an organization worthy of people to be patrons of as well, because you guys do fantastic work. And I got to say, it's always good when I see an article. You do such a great job at breaking things down. Senior research analyst for the Media Research Center's Newsbusters, Bill D'Agostino. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us here in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Always good to talk. Have a good one.
You as well. And coming up after the break, Dr. Anthony Sun, an interventional cardiologist with Mercy Heart and Vascular. Announcement today that President Trump was diagnosed with a benign and common vein condition. We're going to talk about that. What is it and what happens next? Coming up. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews have been on the scene of an accident westbound 6440 past Prospect. Watch for that blocking the left lane. Boy, has it created a parking lot jam behind it. And that pretty much goes back through Highway N. So if you're traveling out there, that's what's going on. Now, we also had an accident southbound 170 south of Del Mar. That one in the left lane, some volume there. And southbound 55 at Lindbergh, we had more rain move through, kind of down south. It's wet at 55 near Merrimack Bottom Road. So it's left us with a slow go in that area. And southbound 270, slow pocket south of Page, and that goes down through 55, but it's not a parking lot. On the Illinois side, westbound 270, another accident, this one around 159, creating delays over there. But if you're headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown, we look fine. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. This summer, while you stay cool, our first responders stay on the front lines. The St. Louis First Responder Canteen is there to keep them hydrated and supported. Find out how you can help by visiting 971talk.com/talkinaction. Do you know how to handle your money in retirement? This is not a situation where you just save and then you kind of wing it, right? Oh, that makes me nervous. You've got to learn and understand how things work so that you can manage your money in retirement, or you can work with a company. And that's why I like financial and tax architects, because they have so much experience with this, but they kind of operate by teaching people and teaching you how it works. So they offer a retirement planning 101 class where you can go and kind of learn how to avoid costly mistakes. Here's when you take Social Security. And then if you'd like, they will work with you, come up with a plan. Wouldn't it be great to have a written plan by an expert? But it's tailored to your goals, to your values. It's just for you. So go to their website, F as in Frank, FTA-RIA.com, FTARIA.com, and get started. I think it will make you happy.
I'm William Shatner. I've been around a long time, but I'm truly humbled when I see the real battles our brave, paralyzed veterans have faced defending our freedom. And when they come home.
I had just come home from serving over in Germany. Next thing I know, it was 3 weeks later. I was paralyzed.
While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open, and I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed for the rest of my life.
I was on a routine patrol, and we were in the desert of Kuwait, and the vehicle flipped and landed on top of me, which left me paralyzed from the waist down.
Okay, folks, this is heroism. That's why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America, because they've kept their promise to never leave a fallen soldier behind. A roof over their heads, accessible homes, cars, jobs, benefits.
PVA has brought me back to life.
Show them their sacrifice hasn't been in vain. Go to PVA.org to learn how you can make a difference.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com. Viking.com.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in at Ryan Recker, if you want to look me up online. Joining us now is an interventional cardiologist with Mercy Heart and Vascular, Dr. Anthony Sohn. Thank you for coming on today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So the news that came out today, President Donald Trump was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency during a recent medical exam. Venous, maybe I'm saying it wrong. I was hoping you can explain venous. Got it. They should spell it like the planet, and then it would be easier for me to pick up on that. Okay, but now that I know, venous, chronic venous insufficiency during a medical exam. Can you explain to us what that is?
Sure. It's basically a condition in which the veins in the legs are unable to really efficiently return blood back to the heart. And what happens then is that blood will pool in the lower extremities or legs, which will cause swelling.
Got it. And that's what some people picked up on. They took a photo and they saw it and they wondered what was going on there. So generally speaking, he's 79 years old, and they say that this is happening to him. How common is it? How serious is it?
It's actually quite common. Unfortunately, as we all get older, the likelihood that we can have this is much higher. And this is basically, and there's really a lot of different reasons why one can develop this. But quite honestly, anyone who is in an occupation that requires prolonged standing is at risk for something like this. So for President Trump, who I think is in his 70s, I mean, unfortunately, just by age and what he does predisposes him to have this.
Right. And yeah, when you see these sort of things, it could be a burden to some people. And, I'm relatively young, I guess. Is this something that happens, you're higher risk at a certain age, or can really anyone get this?
Well, anyone at any age can really get this. Usually we start seeing it in patients who are in their 20s, 30s. But as I said before, as you get older, you're more likely to develop it.
Right. How do you treat something like this?
Well, the best way to treat it is really, number one, staying active. Number two, being of a normal weight. Number three, keeping yourself well hydrated. But the most common way we do it in this age group is wearing compression hose.
Oh, okay. So that's basically tight-fitting socks or something like that?
Yes. These are graduated compression stockings that as you wear them, there's a tighter, more pressure in the lower extremities. As they go up, they get lighter, and that prevents the blood from pooling, effectively preventing the swelling.
Also, basically, you're just preventing the blood from going to certain parts. There's just not enough space for it to go to, and it kind of helps de facto that way?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, interesting. So I'm sure that's kind of like a temporary fix. So basically, improve your health, drop some weight, things like that. Will this clear up, or once you get it, and you're going to have it always?
Usually, once you get it. But taking care of some of those risk factors will prevent less swelling and less pooling of blood. But it really depends on what the mechanism of why they develop that is. And there's a lot of different ways that people can develop it.
Is this more of an inconvenience thing, or down the line, do you have to intervene? Like, is there surgery or something like that?
Yeah, it's a spectrum. So some people may just have some light swelling. Some people may have some skin changes associated with it, whether it be discoloration. But in the severe cases, people can develop wounds from it. And there are procedures and surgeries that can be performed to fix those issues.
Well, for the most part, let's say you have this and you're the president of the United States, you have a lot of medical attention at your disposal at any given time. For the most part, when you have these type of guidance, do you just live a normal life? Does anything change?
Yeah, I mean, most people who have chronic venous insufficiency will have a normal life, and their life expectancy is normal.
Interesting. Can you get it in other parts of your body, like in your fingers, get it or anything like that?
You can, but it's less likely. It's usually because of the legs are always, if you're standing on them, it's gravity doing its job, doing its work.
Right. Okay. Well, let's say someone may think they have this, or like, oh, this looks familiar, or I've kind of noticed this in a spouse or something like that. What would you encourage them to do?
Yeah, I think it's always good to talk to your provider about the symptoms or observations that you notice. But the biggest thing is really, staying active, elevating your legs in the evening, and then you can try over-the-counter compression hose to prevent the swelling.
Put your feet up and relax a little. You deserve it.
That's
Dr.
right.
Anthony Sohn, interventional cardiologist with Mercy Heart and Vascular. Thank you so much for coming on and explaining this to us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good evening.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've had some issues out there tonight, some random rain showers, but some good news. They've cleared the accident westbound 6440 at Prospect, so that will start to thin out. We've got plenty of moderate volume along southbound 270. Now, it's pockets, but it's Page down through Gravois. We've got 55 slow headed for Bates in the construction zone, but we look good if you're headed into Illinois. And we've got some volume in both directions, 170 at Delmar where there was an earlier accident. 70 westbound isn't bad. It's just some moderate volume out at Highway A. But southbound 61, we've got an accident reported really near Dietrich Road, and that has caused a real delay behind that. There's a jam down through there. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Great conversation with Susan L. Ward, who's an awesome sponsor here at 97.1 FM Talk. She's got a brand new office that she's particularly proud of at the location near 270 in Manchester in De Pere. Now, look, I've always put it this way. I hope you don't need the help of Susan because these are very, very tricky, very tough areas of law. She's a divorce attorney primarily, but it's a family practice attorney because that encompasses a lot more than just the end of a marriage. And you could be in a situation where it's a high asset divorce and you have to divide property. Maybe there's custody issues. I asked her about this because one of the the questions we asked the other night is what percentage of cases go to trial? And she said very, very small percentage. And my assumption was, well, it's all the rich people who, have the money to, pay the lawyers, obviously. She said, no, actually, it's not. Some people get really, really, and you can understand when kids are on the line, you do not want to waver on the custody issues, but she can guide you through all these areas of family laws, domestic partnerships, post-divorce issues, domestic violence, all of that is on the table with the law offices of Susan L. Ward. 314-783-9400, the website, stlfamilylaw.com, the focus on family law, the emphasis on you. I had a technician from Zero Res at my home over the weekend. It probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, and here's why. Because I got the puppy, we got puppy accidents, but I'm trying to keep him off the carpet. So I depend on Zero Res. I really have for more than a decade. Maybe at a graduation party, a 4th of July barbecue where the carpet's not looking very good, or just haven't done it in a while. And look, the bottom line is, and the text can show you this, vacuuming is not sufficient. I only had him do part of my carpeting, and then I said, but you better do the stairs that go to downstairs because you can just tell that they're kind of gross. So look, here's the other thing. The floors were dried so quickly, and by that night, they smelled great. Vacuuming is not going to handle it. You need to do the carpets. They can do the tile, the rugs, upholstery, and the air ducts. And here's the special for this month. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus $50 off air duct surfaces. So if you get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, get 1 free. It's a buy 3, get 1, if you will. $50 off air duct services this month when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. Call 474-2020 or online, zeroresstl.com.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim, and if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesidearty.com today to start your dream renovation.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market? And how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Fox News coming up next.
One step closer to approval. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The House set to vote on $9 billion in spending cuts targeting foreign aid and public broadcasting. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the funding cuts are justified.
These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the cuts are unpopular with the American people.
Just like with the big ugly bill, the more Americans learn about what Republicans just did in this rescission package, the more they won't like it, and the more Republicans will squirm.
The House is currently in a holding pattern on the vote as Democrats are putting pressure on Republicans to take votes on releasing the Epstein files. This as President Trump does not support a special counsel to look into the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein prosecution.
While President Trump supports transparency about accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says,
But he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about.
It's not just Democrats demanding answers. After the Justice Department concluded there is no evidence of a client list, some Republicans and conservative influencers have called for a special counsel.
The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels.
But Leavitt says President Trump has directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to release any additional credible information discovered about the case.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. A federal judge has judge's ruled the firing of Federal Trade Commission member Rebecca Slaughter by President Trump was illegal. Wall Street, another positive day for the major indexes after some better than expected updates on the economy. The Dow gained 229, the Nasdaq plus 153. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Scattered thunderstorms going through the afternoon, some with very heavy downpours of rain and intense lightning, 72. Overall, it's not a widespread severe weather outbreak, but there will be a couple of strong storms. Friday, partly sunny. It's cooler, but still the chance of a pop storm. 85 on Friday, then all about summer this weekend and all of next week. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back for another hour of the Mark Reardon Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in at Ryan Recker. If you want to look me up on Twitter, Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. Again, you guys put together a fantastic lineup of guests. Joining us now is White House correspondent for the Washington Times, Chef Mordock. Thank you for coming on again today.
For having me, Ryan. Always enjoy it.
So where do we start? We can talk about the news of President Trump's health, and we just talked to a doctor, I would say 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, Dr. Anthony Sohn, and kind of discussed what was going on, what happens when the blood pools down into the ankle. You wear the compression socks, but things are going to be okay. How do you think this story is being handled so far?
So far, it's being handled about as well as the White House could handle it. I mean, as soon as this came up, they released information from his doctor. They put out a statement. Caroline addressed it off the bat at the press briefing today. She got ahead of it before she started getting questions about it. And if you notice, for the 40 minutes that followed, I think there was maybe one question about it because she got ahead of it with forthright information. And obviously we can contrast that to the most obvious thing, which is how the previous administration was so sketchy with Joe Biden's health.
Oh, absolutely. They hit him away. And in fact, I don't even know if they did much in the way of press conferences that would even give you an opportunity to answer sometimes. But okay, so getting ahead of it, that's always a good thing. And as a person of the media and understand how news can travel quickly. What do you think the sweet spot is? Do you think that once it's found, get the news out there immediately? Or do you think when it comes to the health of the president of the United States, that they should be proactive in some ways, releasing the information before it's caught by a photographer?
I think they should have been proactive. I think being caught by the photographer kind of pushed them into a bit of a panic mode to get things out there and then started to react to it. They probably should, but once it was caught, they certainly moved to be proactive and get that information out there.
Yeah, I thought, are they going to pay more attention to Trump's ankles than they did Joe Biden's cognitive decline for all those years? I wondered how much emphasis they were going to put on this when it comes to news coverage and how much importance I thought they would put on this. But it sounds like the coverage is pretty appropriately contained to where you think it should be.
So far, that's what I've seen. But keep in mind, we've only known this for, 2 hours, 3 hours now.
I guess
Give
that's
it
true.
time to go through the cycle. Give time for people to construct the narrative. Give time for people to raise questions, and then we'll see what the coverage is. But to me, what tells me that the White House did a good job handling it is how Caroline came out. She gave us all the details. They released the letter. And there wasn't much left in that briefing room for people to ask about, which is why my opinion is you can always tell how well the White House is covering any White House, how they're doing with messaging based on the questions that you get in the briefing room. And it didn't seem like this generated a lot of curiosity in the briefing room. And not to go down another rabbit hole, but you could contrast that with today's briefing room was largely about Epstein, which their messaging on that has been terrible.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the Epstein thing. Messaging or not, it's a tough situation for him to be in, but it's actually something that has turned a lot of people against him based on the idea that they're not going to be transparent, or they say they've already been as transparent as they possibly can be, which doesn't satisfy a lot of the different critics, myself included, I guess. So when we talk about the Epstein taking the driver's seat and the narrative of what's happening with the White House right now, it's certainly not what they would want because they have the rescission and they're looking more economic. But this is the thing that's going to be driving the conversation, I think, moving forward until it's settled. And I don't even know if it'll ever be settled. It sounds like they're just trying to push this back.
Yeah, their attitude of let bygones be bygones does not work when you're talking about child sex trafficking. I think that's one thing everybody on all sides of the aisle can agree on. And there's just this fundamental arrogance to how they're handling this. The president coming out and saying, well, I don't, if you're somebody calling for transparency that was once one of my supporters, I don't want you as a supporter anymore. That really struck me as incredibly arrogant and incredibly dismissive of what happened here. And we've got people, some of his most staunch supporters, people, Joe Rogan's endorsement really sealed the election for him. Laura Loomer, who he's taking advice from on various issues. These are people that he listens to and have been stalwart supporters of him. And even they're telling him that you need to reverse course. And he's stubbornly refusing to do that. And it's really, we could theorize why this is happening, but it's really just falling flat with the American people. And they don't want to recognize that, or they just don't care.
And remember back in the 80s and 90s, they made it sound like in media, or at least when you watch a movie or television, that quicksand was going to be a big problem. Everyone's going to run into quicksand sometime in their life. And of course, no one ever runs into quicksand. It's just a tool that they use in order to further a plot point of normally a pretty poorly made television show. This is quicksand for Donald Trump and the administration. They have all these other things going on, and they are self-imposing, standing in this quicksand, sinking, while they're trying to grab onto these other things that they're working on right now. He needs to realize, I think at least, as many politicians do, that it's not too late to reverse course and just say, you know what, whatever, let's do the special prosecutor to look into this, because if you really think there's something there, we'll try one more time, but I don't see it, but let's do it. At least kick the football down a little bit, because right now he is sinking, it seems like.
Well, and the sinking is all self-inflicted. How this erupted was a reporter's actually a friend of mine, asked a relatively benign question of Pam Bondi and Jeffrey Epstein and, about alleged ties to intelligence. It was a relatively benign question, and the president just blew up on it. And that raised everybody's eyebrows of how angry the president got over what was a basic question. It was a fair question, and it just struck me as it struck everybody as over the top for what he did, for what that question was. But also where the Epstein thing will hurt him is the Epstein issue alone is causing damage, but you tie that into a lot of campaign promises the president has made that he's starting to backtrack on. He's going to release the Epstein files. Now he's not. We're not going to send. We're tired of sending money and weapons to Ukraine. Now we're sending weapons to Ukraine. I don't want to get America involved in foreign adventures. Now we're bombing Israel. We're bombing Iran at the behest of Israel. So all of that is starting to add up with people wondering, well, why is he backtracking on so many campaign promises?
Yeah. And, I think with the Epstein stuff, his defense is you're just going to have to believe me on this one, because if we're going to say it's a waste of time, we're being honest with you. People aren't trusting government when it comes to Epstein. So that's a tough sell, number one.
And just to your point there, it's a tough sell to the American people because President Trump has made a career and won 2 elections based on not trusting government and promising to make government more trustworthy and taking a wrecking ball to government sort of being arrogant with the people and not telling them stuff. That was what that's his whole political career has been based at. And now he's doing a complete 180 just over Jeffrey Epstein, which is that a hill anybody wants to die on, but apparently he does.
Yeah. If you're playing baseball and let's say you put up 15 runs, and at the end of the game, you lose. This is the thing that would cause you to lose after putting up that many runs. You'd be like, how in the world can you lose after putting up 15 runs on the board?
Right.
So that's what it seems like. Don't do this. There's so many other good things going on that he can continue down the path. But can I give you a hypothetical as a journalist, and you can tell me how you would handle a situation like this, if you don't mind?
Not at all.
There's a lot of skepticism about this. And when there is skepticism and it's in the news, someone might say, okay, I'm a whistleblower. Let's say someone reaches out to you and says, I have information about the Jeffrey Epstein case. No one else knows this. I want to tell my story. How do you handle a situation like that if someone approaches you like that?
It would depend. I mean, we'd have to verify what their story is. We would ask for collaboration. We would ask for witnesses. We would ask for how they know what they know. We would do some digging to try to find out and try and determine the best we can how credible their information is.
Does that happen a lot? People reach out to you saying they have information?
Yes, and sometimes it is incredibly credible, and sometimes it isn't. It's a surprising mix. I think you'd be surprised about how evenly that is split between the two.
Wow, interesting. And I think about that, and I think there are a lot of people that want to tell their story, but they want to stay anonymous, which is a hard thing to do sometimes when it's a big story like this, which probably is one of the reasons why some people don't want to come forward. They say it's not worth the hassle for the world to hate me, or at least half the world to hate me.
And I think you can almost link that to this administration's attitude. If you're not going to get justice, if there is going to be no justice, why come forward? That's the other thing I don't like about their attitude towards this is that they're discouraging people who could come forward with credible information to come forward because it's just going to get their perception is it's just going to get buried.
Yeah. This is another plot point that you see on television shows, but I don't know how often this happens in real life. Have you ever been compelled to try to give up a source for a story? Does that happen where a judge tries to force you to give up information you don't want to give up?
It's rare. I do have a friend in the 90s who went to jail for refusing to give up a source in Texas, but It's rarer than you would think. It's rare.
Right. One other story that is kind of interesting that Donald Trump brought up was Adam Schiff and mortgage fraud in the Department of Justice referral. Let's talk about that story for a moment, because this is this could be a really big story. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, it could be. And it's a cut and dry case. That's what I think is so interesting. And there's a couple of points with this. It's a very cut and dry mortgage fraud, whether it's anybody, whether it's the senator from California or just some guy who lives down the street from me. It's very cut and dry. It's did you fill out these forms? And did you put this information down? And is this information accurate? It's really just that simple. And for your listeners who don't know, Adam Schiff is senator from California, so he represents California, has a home in Burbank. Also bought a home in Potomac, Maryland, I think in 2009, I believe. Used that, obviously, because he was in the House of Representatives at that time representing California. He put down that the Maryland home was his primary residence, and then, which you do if you own two residences, you get a break. You'll get a mortgage break on your primary residence, because if it's a vacation home, an income property, you get a steeper mortgage than you would if it's just a house you and your family are going to live in. So to get the break, he declared that his primary residence. Then on tax forms, he could get a tax break of $7,000 if he declared his Burbank home his primary residence. So suddenly the Burbank home was the primary residence. But the thing is with mortgage fraud is those cases usually get settled quickly. There's very rarely is it their jail time. It's you pay a fine, you pay restitution to the bank, and then you have some sort of consent decree promising you'll never do it again and you'll face different penalties if you do. What I find interesting is it's essentially a technical violation. And if you want to compare that, President Trump convicted on those 34 felony counts in New York, that was also a technical violation. That was also a business fraud case in which forms were not filled out to the level that prosecutors thought they should have been filled out to. And it's interesting that you have Adam Schiff here cheering the prosecution of President Trump when he's essentially almost doing the same thing, according to the criminal referral to the Justice Department.
Yeah. And again, I'm just going to mention this as broadly speaking, because I'm just curious how this works on a bigger scale. And I know we're running close to time. Do you have a couple minutes?
I got time, yeah.
Okay. A lot of people speculated. They pointed the signs to Adam Schiff as the person that may have been leaking this Russiagate information to the media in order to try to further this narrative. A lot of people pointed to Adam Schiff. It was never proven, but there's a lot of telltale signs it was probably him, but we may never know. So let's say, hypothetically, you as a journalist have a high-profile politician that reaches out to you with information. Do they go through the same level of scrutiny as an anonymous source when you're trying to do their backstory?
The answer should be yes, but in most cases it's no, because that person has achieved a level of credibility.
Right. And when you're someone like Adam Schiff, again, this is hypothetical because none of this was ever proven, but still, it made me wonder if that same level of that same process would have been fulfilled when I saw Adam Schiff's name, because I thought, okay, maybe Donald Trump thinks the same thing. And maybe this is his way of saying, I gotcha.
It very well it could, because one thing we can expect if this ends up being criminal charges being filed, that I would expect a Trump Justice Department will overcharge here. They will try to reach for a couple of charges that we would not expect. To use the example of the guy down the street filling out mortgage forms inaccurately, Adam Schiff will probably face more charges, and we'll see what happens. Nobody ever gets jail time for mortgage fraud. I mean, it takes a lot to do that. So I don't expect he would get jail time. I think this is going to focus on, even with the Trump administration not wanting to cut him a break, it's still going to result in fines and penalties and some kind of plea deal. Most of these cases are pled out anyway. That's assuming he did something wrong and they pursue a criminal investigation, obviously.
Jeff Mordock, White House correspondent for the Washington Times. If people wanted to look you up or reach out to you, where can they go?
They can always reach me at Jeff Mordock on Twitter, and then I'm always at the Washington Times. My email address is at the bottom of every story, so feel free to write and say hi.
Fantastic. Jeff Mordock, again, thank you for joining us and entertaining some of these hypotheticals.
Always. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Happy to be with you here today. We got a couple more segments, including 40 minutes worth. And Dave Simmons, host of the KMOX Dollars and Cents Show, is going to join us a little bit later in the hour. I have a story for Ethan, our producer, coming up after the break. It's a crazy story. I want to get his thoughts on this. And if you are not watching on the live video right now, you should, because you want to see his reaction, his face when I tell him this story. Coming up, go to the Mark Reardon Show page on YouTube and go watch it now. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Police have almost wrapped up this accident. Looks like the tow truck is on the scene. Southbound 55 at Lindbergh, but they still have the left lane and the left shoulder blocked, and traffic is jammed through there, and we already have wet roadways down there. 55 also slowing at Bates. Northbound 55 slowing from the 44 split to the Poplar Street Bridge. Southbound 270. Moderate volume mostly, but slow in pockets Olive down through Gravois. And westbound 70, a little slow, Jennings Station Road, also at Cave Springs and at Highway A. But 64, it's just the usual volume, less a little from Kings Highway and pockets out through 270. A little bit through the valley and slowing again at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Mark Cox here. Let me introduce you to my friends at the Lit Cigar Lounge in St. Louis, where luxury meets comfort. Premium hand-rolled cigars, an extensive selection of rare bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails. It's comfortable for non-smokers, too. They have a state-of-the-art ventilation system. They have private lockers and live music every Friday night, perfect for date nights or business meetings or just winding down. Visit litstl.com.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. I had a couple other stories here. The KGB is going to release the JFK files, at least what they have on their side. That's kind of interesting. In Canada, a top scientist is recommending they create a new federal body to collect and investigate UFO sightings. That's kind of interesting. But I talked to a victim today. I did an interview. And I got to tell you, Ethan, I wanted to tell you this story and get your reaction to it of what happened to this person.
A victim. Okay? Oh, you're going to say what they're a victim of?
Right. I'm going to tell you because I talked to him while he was in the hospital.
Okay.
Okay. This is a story of northern Michigan. He lives in Florida, but came back up to his family's big plot of land for a family reunion. He said it's probably been about 20 years since he's visited this plot in northern Michigan.
Okay.
He remembered when he was younger, his uncle used to take him to this tire swing and they would jump into the lake and have fun and, just swim. And now the guy has kids his age when he was young doing the same thing. So he wanted to be able to experience this with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
He is at the family reunion and he thinks, I better go test this out. Let's go see if this tire swing's still up there. So he goes to the spot where the tire swing is still there. He's 39 years old, swinging on the tire swing.
Uh-oh.
He jumps off the swing into the water. The water is shallow. He hits the shallow water and amputates one of his ankles. He says there's that face. I'm watching on the YouTube page right now. He says he gets down and there's his foot floating with his sandal on it next to him.
What?
His foot is floating next to him. His other leg broken. And he's in the water, can't stand, realizing, okay, I got to get out of here, but he can't move. And there's no one there because he did this by himself. He is stuck and bleeding out into this lake. He said he saw muscle in his foot floating next to him. He thought he was going to die.
Wait, so just to clarify, you're not saying that they had to amputate his foot. You're saying that his foot was amputated, like it completely disconnected from the rest of his body when he landed?
Well, I'll fast forward a little bit. It was like 90+% amputated. The only thing that was holding it together was a tendon.
Oh my gosh.
You had bone and muscle sticking out the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
So he's alone, bleeding out, can't move. No one knows he's there. yelling. And he said, I'm not someone that swears, but I started yelling the F word because I was hoping that my family would hear that and realize something was wrong because I never swear. He used it as a mechanism for survival.
Wow.
3 minutes later, a pontoon boat hears him screaming. And as what luck would have it, this guy is a military trauma medic. And he hops out, sees what's going on, jumps into action, and saves this dude's life. The guy said, I wasn't even going to go out on the water today. It was something my wife and I decided last second. If it wasn't for this trained veteran, for this specific training, this dude would have died. So the wife calls 911. He applies tourniquet, gets some sticks and stuff that's on the brush, and then gets an old shirt, calls 911. Medics get him out there, saving the dude's life. He gets up to the hospital. The doctors are like, we can't put this foot back on. And the guy's like, just try. Goes to surgery, and they're able to reattach his ankle foot. So
what?
Now, since he broke one foot and the other one had an amputation, it's going to take him 6 months before he can walk again because he can't do it. He can't put any pressure on anything right now, but he's going to be just fine. I talked to this guy today. Tell me that's not an insane story.
How did you hear about this story?
Michigan State Police put out a press release of this incident that happened, and they put me in touch with him to talk to him in the hospital. I thought it was such a wild story, and the guy agreed to talk to me.
That's all that is. They called it just an incident. That is like almost slander on this story because this is like, I mean, I don't know what it would be, but incident is not an intense enough word.
Right. And this poor guy, he said his wife and kids were at the site, the family, and he's like, when they went to go get help, he said, don't make sure my wife and kids don't come down here. I don't want them to see this. They will pass out.
Was he convinced he was going to die still at that point? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. He thought he was a goner. He was bleeding out. He thought if no one came over, it's over. It's just what's going to happen. But he looked at it as an act of God that this person that shouldn't have been on the water, that just happened to have medical training for this type of trauma, happened to just float by 3 minutes after this happened. He said it's divine intervention that I'm alive today. Isn't that something?
Now, did he explain how he landed in order to where he would do that amount of damage to his...
It said it was just shallow water. He had no idea it was shallow. So just think about you launching off of like a cliff or something, or like a embankment into shallow water feet first.
Yeah, you're just not prepared for it. Oh my goodness.
And you're 39 years old. You're not young anymore.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But he's alive.
That's crazy. But what an amazing story that he's going to make a full recovery. And I tell you what, I don't know how often you're playing two truths and a lie at the age of 39, but he's going to have a pretty freaking awesome one here in a couple of years. Holy moly. That's unbelievable.
All right. Well, I wanted to share that with you. Coming up after the break, Dave Simmons is going to join us, KMOX Dollars and Cents Show, partner and managing director of One Private Wealth. And we're going to talk about the Dow Jones, the recovery, Jerome Powell, a lot of things that are going on finance-wise. Looking forward to that with you. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, it's really not that bad right now. If you are leaving downtown, there's some volume right there at Jennings Station Road, and then things open up. And it doesn't really slow again, and even then it's moderate volume out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, where we do have its jam is eastbound 44 as you merge with 55 and then head for the Poplar Street Bridge. That's a slow go. And we do have an accident reported on the ramp to the Poplar, which is what's to blame. Now, if you are westbound on 6440, Kings Highway out through McCausland, a little bit slow on your way to Lindbergh. And then it's slowing again out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 55 really isn't bad. Southbound 270, some moderate volume in pockets from Olive down through Gravois. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
When you get hurt, you don't want to end up on the injured list. You want to get back in the game, stronger than ever. At Morgan & Morgan, we're the home run hitters you need. Morgan & Morgan, proud sponsor of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-355-8282. That's 800-355-8282. Again, that's 800-355-8282.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:32 is the time. This time check, as always, sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. Happy to be with you. Got a little less than a half hour here, but you know, it's such an interesting time trying to watch the economy. And joining us now to catch us up, host of the KMOX Dollars and Cents Show, partner and managing director at One Private Wealth based in Chesterfield, Dave Simons. Thank you so much for coming on.
For having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
All right, so here's the roller coaster we've been on. Donald Trump gets in office. A lot of people thought that was going to be the green light for the economy, and it was. Tariffs were announced. People started selling, and it went down, 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 down. We were watching multiple days where they had 1,000-point drops on the Dow. Things stabilize, slowly grows. Tariff announcements come out. It's not going to be that bad. Dow Jones now is just, things are skyrocketing again. So this has been a wild year when it comes to the stock market. How do you even look at something like this without being fearful, honestly?
Well, Ryan, that is the question of the year, isn't it? I have told people this. I've been doing this now for over 30 years. I've been in bull markets, bear markets. I've certainly been in, I mean, this is a good economy, and you're right, the market's at all-time highs. However, this has been probably one of the hardest environments in which to actually manage money, because you don't know what the next tweet is going to suggest. You don't know what the market's reaction might be. And so what you learn is, well, not going to do really anything. At first, and you nailed it. You go back to really Liberation Day on that April 2nd when the markets tanked, and at one point the S&P 500 was down nearly 20%. But honestly, what got the White House's attention wasn't really the stock market, it was the bond market. And these bond vigilantes said, oh, my goodness, this means maybe runaway inflation. It means a weaker economy. That's going to suggest higher bond yields, which means bond prices go down. And once the president, and especially Treasury Secretary Benson, saw that, I think they decided, okay, we've got to back this off, and thus you had the 90-day pause. So that gets us to today, mid-July, and things seem to be going very, very well. But I do believe that Wall Street, the big boys and girls, the big institutional managers, have determined that there's really – I'm not going to trade on what Donald Trump says today or tomorrow. We need to pay attention to it, but we cannot trade through it, and I think that's what's happening now. And they're focusing on what you said at the beginning, and that is everyone was really excited and looking forward to a stronger economy, and Donald Trump making sure that taxes were going to stay low. That's what's happening now, and that's really what's pushing the market higher.
Yeah, and before you had the tariff talks, and a lot of people panicked. They sold. You have another tariff talks, other different countries, not as widespread, but they're still kind of there in the back burner in the background. But they kind of wised up a little bit. They realized, oh boy, we probably shouldn't have done this before, and they're not reacting to it the same way, which goes to show you that they must have a lot of confidence in the American economy moving forward. And the Dow Jones, like earlier this week, they were flirting with that 45,000. I thought for sure they're going to get in that record territory. They were so close. Today, it looks like we were up about 229, 230 points. I mean, I know we're not going to probably hit record territory tomorrow, but maybe even next week, if things are going well and we keep throwing on 230 a day, we're going to be there before you know it.
Well, Ryan, right now we're in the middle of earnings season. So the second quarter, of course, ended a couple of weeks ago, and now it's all about earnings. At this point, any talk of tariffs, yeah, that's out there, but it's taking a little bit of a back seat as you have one major corporation after another, not only talking about what they did in the last quarter. That's really not what analysts and investors are looking at. It's, oh, this is what we expect through the rest of the year. And, oh, by the way, if these certain tariffs do come to pass, this may or may not affect our business. And as we're seeing, even if some of the more draconian tariffs actually do come to pass, it's going to be very industry specific. It's going to be company specific. So I've been telling folks here lately, my original fear, like, oh my goodness, this could really affect the economy across the board. I no longer fear that now. I think investors are going to have to be very, very selective and very picky. But the earnings so far seem to be good, and that's what the market's focusing on. And it wouldn't surprise me that we're going to continue to hit record highs. No guarantee of that. I don't trade on that, but I'm optimistic here.
Okay. What do you think of Jerome Powell?
Yeah, that's kind of in the news too. Well, Ryan, the whole thing actually is a little bit silly, honestly. The president knows legally he just cannot fire a Fed chief. So what I would say is put Jay Powell to the sideline here just a second, because you can have an opinion to say, I think this guy's a horrible Fed chief, or you think he's the greatest thing ever, or somewhere in between. The president, there's a long history. Donald Trump is not the first president. In fact, it would be very rare for a president not to have to butt heads with the Fed chief. And I just did a big history of it. In fact, I'm writing a little bit in my weekly commentary that goes out to clients about it tomorrow. And I went back to FDR and I looked at every presidency and every issue they had with their own Fed chief. And Ryan, do you know that there really wasn't a president that didn't have some issue? The difference is this. Most of the time it was behind the scenes, and we only learned about it afterwards in memoirs, things like that. People can love or hate Donald Trump, but one thing we do know, he's pretty darn transparent. You don't have to guess, oh, I wonder if the president likes this guy. You know it. He doesn't hide that. And so we know what he feels about the Fed chief. We know that he would like to fire him. But it's one of those, be careful what you wish for, because you would see a big market correction in both stocks and bonds if somehow he were to push this a little bit further. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, frankly, because I don't think it's going to happen. And he has said he has no plans to try to fire him. Legally, he can't anyway, but let's just hope that it ends there.
All right. Jay Powell. He's got his own nickname. I don't think the president's ever called him that, as far as I know. But it does get people wondering, just all things considered, the economy is doing pretty well. I think most people watch it and they just want to know what the rates are going to be in the future. I think a lot of people look at it for mortgage sake too, but I don't think those are ever going down again. It's the things that the things that I think most people really associate with the interest rates, even though mortgage isn't directly associated, because it's not exactly the same type of rate. I got to say, the stuff that people recognize, they recognize inflation when things cost more. They recognize when their interest rate on their credit card goes up because they have to pay more, or if they try to apply for a loan like through, like, let's say a car loan or something like that, the rate to try to pay that money back, that's going to be a little bit more difficult too. I think these are the things that people pay attention to. And I don't know, some people aren't excited about the Dow Jones or Wall Street going to record highs. They just want to know when prices are going to go down.
Yeah, and I see both sides on this, Ryan. I do. Those who believe that the president is correct and that the Fed, and it's not just Jay Powell. We have to remember, it's not one guy's vote. Yes, he is the head, but even if he wanted to raise rates, he's got other Fed governors who have to vote on it too. And they seem to be in agreement right now that they're not in a big hurry to lower rates. So I do get on the one side where people would agree with the president to say, I think it's okay to start lowering rates. Believe it or not, I happen to be one of those people who thinks it would be okay for the Fed to start lowering rates here. But I also understand the other side to say, look, why not save that dry powder? You should only be lowering rates when the economy is starting to suffer a little bit. The market is hitting all-time highs. The economy is doing relatively well. And if you start lowering rates, you might feed that beast, which could only maybe perhaps increase inflation more. And then the Fed has to actually start raising rates to combat that. I think that thought is overdone a little bit. I see parts of the economy, frankly, that are starting to weaken a little bit. And I think it's okay to lower rates now here in July. They meet again in a couple of weeks. They're not going to, by the way. I'm convinced of it. But I think it's okay to lower 0.25%, because when the Fed starts actually engaging in some sort of activity, that does not filter through the economy for at least 6 to 9 months. And you can go back and look at a history. I know one of his nicknames, the president's nicknames of Powell, is Too Late Powell, but that can be applied to virtually every Fed chairman in our nation's history. They seem to always look at current data, which is backward looking, instead of having the proactive vision to say, but this is where we may be going. And I think if we wait too long and then we start lowering rates, then we have problems, because then you are waiting 6 to 9 months too long.
Well, Donald Trump has another nickname for Jerome Powell. Ethan, if you can play clip number 28, because there's one other nickname. I don't know if you heard this one yesterday. Let's see if we can give it a play.
He's a knucklehead.
I think that's in the all-star level of Donald Trump drops for radio's use.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said before, you don't have to guess where Donald Trump is on anything or anybody.
Yeah. All right. If people wanted to listen to your show or find you online or anything like that, can they go?
Yeah, the best place online, frankly, and it's pretty easy to remember. It's our team name, and that's just one, and you spell it out, ONE, onepwm.com. And PWM is Private Wealth Management. So onepwm.com.
onepwm.com. onepwm.com. All right. Dave Simons, thank you so much for joining us here. We really appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Partner and managing director at the One Private Wealth based in Chesterfield, and good market talk there. I think a lot of people are paying attention to it, myself included, and I think a lot of novices are paying attention to it lately too. And I think some people are getting dragged into it because it's crypto week, and they may be looking at it from that standpoint, the future of what trading may look like in a digital wallet world, I guess. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. We have one more segment left. We'll have the audio cut of the day coming up on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Couple of accidents downtown causing delays. One on the ramp from northbound 55 to the Poplar Street Bridge. That's created a jam back onto 44. And there was an accident eastbound 6440 at the Poplar in the right lane. So if you're headed into Illinois, that's caused a delay. Now, eastbound 64 also slowing at the Innerbelt. Westbound, just some moderate volume at Clayton Skinker, and then headed for 270. Little bit out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard as well. Now, 70 westbound really is not bad. There was some volume headed for Lake St. Louis Boulevard, but not much. And southbound 270, just a little slow. Doherty Ferry and also at Gravois. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market? And how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. I'll tell you, these last two shows went by so fast, so fast. And I have a list of all these different audio clips that Fred pulled and prepared for the show. It's like 30 plus clips, and I think we played one or two through the course of the entire show. It's good to be over-prepared, but it gives us an opportunity to do the audio cut of the day.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
So, Ethan, I don't know if you know this, but I got a message from Drew. He said it's not too late to get fired again. Play some Shane Gillis. I'm going to not do that. So I don't know why he keeps trying to push us to get in trouble, but
He's a knucklehead.
Yeah. That's exactly the clip you need to say. Anytime we work together, will you please try to incorporate that into it? And I'm looking at down the clip list, and there's one that stands out as clip number 26. Apparently, Stevie Wonder has to dispel the rumors that he can actually see. This is a fantastic conspiracy. Let's listen.
Shortly after my birth, I became blind. That was a blessing because it's allowed me to see the world in the vision of truth. See people in the spirit of them, not how they look, not what color they are, but what color is their spirit.
Okay, so can't see. Now, it doesn't matter what Shaquille O'Neal has said. Ethan, have you heard the conspiracy?
No, I have not.
This is great. Shaq has told this before on the TNT postgame show where he was in a hotel. Elevator doors open up. Stevie Wonder alone. Well, maybe not alone. He might have been with someone. But Shaq walks in. Doors close. Stevie Wonder says, "Oh, hey, Shaq." Shaq says, "I swear that happened." He's saying Stevie Wonder can see. Now, there's another conspiracy. There's a video of him performing on stage. I don't know if it was like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but there's a lot of big performers on the stage playing at one time. And I think Paul McCartney bumps a microphone stand, and Stevie Wonder reaches out and grabs it while it was falling over the stand. So people are like, how did he know to reach out and grab that?
Maybe it's one of those situations, right? When you lose one of your 5 sentences, all the other ones become heightened. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe he can't see, but all of a sudden his hearing
Daredevil.
is super good, and he's hearing the footsteps, the giant footsteps of Shaquille O'Neal, and he knows it's Shaq.
Oh, he knows.
Or you know,
That's a size 20 shoe.
or
Stomp it.
he can hear, you know, the microphone stand begin to fall, and he just like, and his instincts just kick in. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it's like
what it
that
is.
scene from Jurassic Park where they see the vibrations in the water. That's how you know Shaq is getting close. The floor is just vibrating. Yeah, okay, it could have been something like that. All right, that is our audio cut of the day.
He's a knucklehead.
I thought Stevie Wonder was leaving the country. Was he one of the celebrities that said he's out of here because Trump's winning or something? I don't know. But still, good old little Stevie Wonder. There's another clip I wanted to play because I know we got a couple minutes. On CNN, Harry Enton was breaking down the midterms. This is clip number 3.
Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. At least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like those wave elections back in 2006 or 2018. For anyone who's writing the Republican House's political obituaries, hold the phone. This is a reality check. Republicans are still very much in the game.
Isn't it stupid? What's today? I forgot what Sue said. It was like Emoji Day or something like that.
World Emoji Day.
World Emoji Day. Tell me how stupid it is. If I see someone on Twitter and they use that blue wave emoji, I automatically write them off. There's not anything that person's going to say that I'm going to enjoy reading. That, you know, that little blue wave that they use when they get close to elections. Oh, it's going to be a blue wave.
Yeah,
A bunch of Democrats are going to win.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I didn't know the context of when in which you were trying to use it. So that does make sense. That is funny. But I guess on my feed, I don't see that very much.
It's
thankfully.
Fine. Have you changed your habits on social media? Back when Twitter used to be like brand new, Facebook used to be new, people would actually use it for some discourse. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, I'll have a conversation with someone and I'll argue with them. But that's kind of the fun of it. I find that today, I don't even care to read the discourse. I'm using it almost as a way to search for show content, news, opinions, and I'm not using it as a way to communicate or share my opinion with other people or get into fights with strangers. Never again.
I never share my political opinion online. Not anymore. When I was like in high school and just starting to learn about politics and stuff, I would share like Ben Shapiro videos, like
oh, sure.
Ben Shapiro obliterates young liberal student, like all those ones. Like I thought those were awesome. I loved those things. Like, yeah, get up, Ben. But no, I haven't. I've kept it quiet for a long time. I think you're probably a little bit safer in today's climate to be able to share and not be fearful of if it's going to affect, you know, jobs down the road or things like that. But I mean, there was a time, you know, in which like I feel like that could come up and bite you if you're a Republican. So I very much so I became reserved and just was like, I am not sharing anything. I deleted all of my as much as I could possibly find of what I had shared in the past or, you know, retweeted or whatever. I just tried to like make it to where if you went on my page, you would not be able to know. Because I just like, it's not that I'm afraid to speak my opinion. It's just like, in the grand scheme of things, is it worth it? Not to me.
It's a graveyard of deleted tweets. A lot of them that, you know, in the past, you're like, oh, I wonder what that was about. I interacted with this person, but that person doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Or the things they said are gone. You ever find yourself randomly blocked by people you don't know? That happens to me sometimes too, where there's someone that's referenced in a tweet, and then you'll be like, oh, I can't see the tweet. Oh, I can't see the person.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I blocked by that person? I don't know. And then sometimes it's celebrities. I'm blocked by some celebrities that I have zero interaction with. And I found out that there are groups of managers that manage certain people's type of social media, and they'll preemptively block them across all their clients. And apparently I got on a list at some point, and there's a bunch of like C-level celebrities that blocked me for whatever reason, which has kind of really disappointed me.
I think you should be honored that you made the list.
I don't feel like I'm that controversial. Like, you've heard enough of my shows to realize that I'm not going out there and just being nuts all the time and trying to be the craziest voice and trying to come up with the hottest take. I feel like we have conversations. We have some interesting things to say, and I don't feel like I go off the deep end. There's nothing really that I post out there that would make, I think, a celebrity block me. But I forgot who some of them were. Rosie O'Donnell's one of them. This is, well, keep in mind, this is going back, oh boy, years ago, and I haven't checked in a long time. So this is back when Twitter was really popping. But anymore, I don't even know how much celebrities even use it. They wanted to go to Blue Sky, and that kind of failed. Is that even still around?
It is around, but I don't think that it. I don't think it had picked up like people thought it would. I think that a lot of people on the left said, like, okay, we're gonna all boycott it, and this is gonna become the new Twitter, but without the freedom to be able to type what you want, and it just did not work out in that way. So it's nowhere near what X is still.
Yep. And Threads, what was the other one that was very short-lived?
Threads is still a thing, but you're right, it's not it in the same way. I don't know if that was necessarily politically affiliated, but
no, just a competitor. That's basically what they're trying to do.
Because I think Threads is owned by Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's something like that. All right. Well, it's fun. We'll just go find out who we're blocked by. I wish it was an easy job. Sometimes you have to just find it accidentally. All right. We know we have a big show tomorrow, and you have the Reardon Roundtable, but Mike Elam is going to be filling in tomorrow, which is great. I had the last couple of days. I got to tell you, I always have such a great time when I get a chance to fill back in here in St. Louis, and I know it happens semi-frequently, but I honestly say this. Anytime I get a message from someone, oh, it's so good to hear you doing this again, or a message on Twitter or Facebook, it does truly mean a lot to me. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Recker. Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook would be another great way for you to reach out to the show. We'll hopefully catch you again sometime in the future on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are thinning out nicely here on the roads. There is still a jam, though, on eastbound 44 headed for 55. There was an accident headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, and then at the top of the ramp, that created a delay. Eastbound 40 also slowing at Big Bend. Westbound traffic, moderate volume out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Southbound 270, some moderate volume at Gravois. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg